Welcome to the Main Character Podcast. I am your host, Brandon Hamblin, main character of my own story. But this podcast isn't about me. It's about you, and all of you. Every person that has ever lived on this planet, all 8 billion people here now, all that came before us, and all that will come hereafter are the main characters in their own story. My aim is to interview people that embody living in their energy and discovering from their perspective what their perception of reality is like. Buckle up. You're about to experience the world through another main character's eyes.
That's complex.
So I'm going to have to change my opening because there's normally like you're one of my favorite people, and you are one of my favorite people. And what I was thinking about this on my 22-minute trip to Starbucks this morning. Mm-hmm. I think we've told you this. I did not like you the first time that we met.
Yeah, Rachel told me that.
Yeah, I was like, who's this bitch?
Like, to be really honest, the people who usually have that opinion of me end up absolutely loving me later.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Which totally makes sense. And why do you think that is?
I've heard it my entire life, and I'm just like, yeah, that tracks. Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm like,
because you are so fun, you're so open, you are like, the Chelsea package is an amazing package.
Thanks. I don't know. It takes me a minute. I do like to kind of label myself as being empathic. It does take me a minute to warm up to new people and kind of, I don't know, get a sense of the stage that's been set and like my role on that stage. And yeah.
Do you think
not that I'm trying to like plug myself into what other people perceive I should be doing, but it's just like, I try to just feel it out.
Yeah. Feel it out first.
Yeah.
I was out at a bonfire last night with a bunch of guys, and I knew all of them except for one. And I was just sitting back listening.
Mm-hmm.
And the host, who I've had on earlier, he's so good at reading the room. He zeroes in on the person that needs the love and the attention. Mm-hmm. Doesn't cater, but he gives them love and attention. And then
he holds space for them.
And he is a master. Like, I think I'm good at it. And he comes in and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then that person, like, we went to dinner with him with a group, and he did that. And as that person would get their time, mm-hmm. and then for some reason they would be the first one that would leave. Yeah. And then he'd move on to the next person, then that person. And he just like, it was like a perfect domino effect of, he just knew. And so anyways, bonfire last night, I'm sitting back just watching, and he goes, Brandon, you haven't said anything. Are you doing okay over there? I'm like, I'm just observing. Mm-hmm. I'm cool taking it all in. Yeah. And when I feel like I need to start participating and interjecting, I'll go. And so that sounds like that's a little bit of that first, like, let me just read the room first.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of that. But it is so funny because most of my life, I've maybe 1, 2, possibly even 3 years into some relationship I developed with a person, they'll just be like, I thought you were a giant bitch when I met you. I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. You didn't have to tell me. Which is so funny
because it's the exact opposite.
It is. It really is.
It's the exact opposite.
I got that a lot in massage school too. There was a group of girls, and it's mostly women that go to massage school anyway. But there was just this group of girls that were very apprehensive to have me be in and I could sense it too.
Yeah.
And then halfway through massage school, because it's a year long, there's a group of girls which they're very apprehensive towards interacting with me in general. Halfway through, they were just like, I fucking love you.
Yeah.
I thought you were a mean girl and a giant bitch when I first met you. And I was like, surprise. Not.
Surprise. And that is a good way of describing it. Mm-hmm. I fucking love you. And ride or die. I want Chelsea in the seat next to me. What are we doing?
Another thing too that has happened, it's either I'm standoffish, sort of like a cat, and maybe unapproachable, or I'm just super comfortable in my space And like, I am loud and I am funny and like,
Yeah.
I am sarcastic and I'm not afraid of calling people on their bullshit. And I'm not afraid of like teasing others. And they're just like, oh, you were so much when I first met you. Like, I just didn't know I didn't know what to make of all of this.
Of the Chelsea package.
Right. And I'm just like, well, and they're like, yeah, well, now I fucking love you.
Yeah.
Like, mm-hmm,
Yeah.
I know.
That's to the point where my amazing wife, you two just got tattoos.
Yeah.
And I like that you guys got matching.
Mm-hmm.
And there's cats. There are cats. There is a cat.
Yeah.
And so I like that cat energy.
Yeah, it is. I think, so I know you and Ray have been familiarizing yourself more with astrology lately. Like, what do you understand about it?
Oh gosh.
Because I'm getting into the cat thing. Like, that's what I'm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, quick. I'll give you my 90-second version of that.
Sure.
Hopefully less.
Uh-huh.
My introduction was, I think like most people, newspaper, here's your, I'm a Capricorn. Here's your astrological thing for today. What's that called? So
Horoscope.
that's the word.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Horoscopes are bullshit.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so they're just picking this out of a hat and like, yep, that's Capricorn today. And it's a bunch of bullshit, right?
It really is. It's super generalized when it comes down to that one little blurb that's in the newspaper.
Yes. And so I'm skeptical of everything, like a healthy skepticism, because
Yeah.
there's a reason why people buy into things.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason why I do the podcast, like, why do you see the world that you do? Why do you like that thing? Why does it resonate with you? And as we've gone from very Christian based to not very Christian based,
Mm-hmm.
I've like all these different modalities, all these different belief systems, and astrology has been one of those where actually I tie it back into Christianity because you want to know how the story of Christ begins? Under a flippin' star, folks.
Yeah, for sure.
There's an energy there, and there's
Yeah.
a reason why that's where the gospels start.
Yeah.
And so it could be human design. It could be there's one that what's that called? Your birth chart.
Uh-huh.
Where what is the energy? What were we have? I think it's called Sky Guide.
Sky Guide
Is the app.
Mhm.
And I like it because when you hold it up, it shows you the constellation, but it's not just the like connecting the stars. You actually get to see Orion, right? Like he's holding
that's cool.
he's doing his thing. And you see this whole story playing out in the sky.
Mhm.
Like this thing's beating on this thing, and this star's sitting in between like Jupiter was hanging out between Taurus's horns.
Mhm.
I'm like, what the hell does that mean?
Mhm.
What kind of energy is that bringing down here?
Yeah.
You've got the sign in your guest room. Mercury's in retrograde, or what does it say?
My friend Betsy, she's former Mormon too. I love Betsy. It's Mercury's in Gatorade or some shit.
Yeah, that's the one.
She cross stitched that for
so
me.
funny.
Oh, I love her.
Oh,
She's so great.
It's so good. And so I like, and there's so much truth there because every ancient civilization up until we decided, let's light up our skies every night with all the dirty skylights and all the other nasty light pollution that we have. They got to look up at the stars and see this. That was their movie. They got to see what was going on, and it meant something.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've just lost so much connection to that. So that's where I'm at with astrology is that is because energy is information that vibrates. You're welcome, regular podcast listeners. I got it in this episode. And so there's an energy that is being transferred at the time of your birth and then throughout.
Oh, yeah, there is for sure. And I think that ancient peoples across the existence of forever needed something to hold on to. And they didn't maybe understand the stars and the skies the way that we do now because they don't have the same technology that we do.
Right.
I think they were trying to make sense of it. And so they see, this one flickering star that's like red and they're just like, what is that? And then they're like, that has to be some kind of like greater power. And we're talking about Mars, like the god of war.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just, I think people have been trying to make sense of a higher power for eons. And one of the easiest ways to do that was to look to the stars because it's so
That's
far
well said.
away. And like you can connect with something being so far away and so beautiful and so mysterious, but also feel very, very close to it at the same time. So I think astrology gives people a lot of comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a practice. I hate this New Age. Those words drive me fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm sorry anyone who has said, oh, I'm not into astrology and all that new age bullshit. It's been around for thousands of years.
Yeah. Kind of predates almost everything.
Just like acupuncture.
Yeah.
It just drives me nuts. I'm not into new age stuff. And it's like, well, hold on to your butts because you're about to be humiliated. Not that bad.
Do it, Chelsea. Let's go.
No. I'm not gonna do that.
All right.
But yeah, so it drives me nuts. But yeah, astrology is really beautiful and it's multi-layered and it's beyond anything of like, oh, what's your star sign? Like your sun sign.
Your sun sign. Right.
And like for a really, really long time, like just reading the stuff in the newspaper. My birthday is July 21st. So like sometimes it would pop up like, oh, you're born under the star sign of Cancer. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then like sometimes it would pop up and it'd be like, oh, you're born under the star sign of Leo. And I'm like,
oh, you ride the edge.
And I'm just like, okay, like that one seems to make a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
And so like it's a cusp. I'm on the cusp of oscillation between Cancer and Leo.
Yep.
So it's just like I never really could completely identify with one or the other because it is almost fluid.
Yeah.
And so like beyond just the sun sign of astrology, you also have your rising sign.
Yep.
Which is mine is Leo.
And
then you have every single other placement of all your planets. And
right.
I actually have like 4 or 5 Leo placements.
Oh,
so
like in houses and all
that
yeah.
stuff. So when people say like, oh, hey, what's your sign? And I'm like, Leo.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Like, and just so big cat energy on top of that. Like you can wrap in Chinese astrology, born in the year of the fire tiger.
I was just going to ask.
Right.
Yeah.
So big, like reinforced, lots of big feline energy, which is very easy to peg as Leo. So
yeah, for sure. Cool. Okay. So what does that mean to you?
What does it mean to me?
Yep. I mean, what is big cat energy?
Kind of obnoxious.
Kind of obnoxious.
It really is. It's kind of obnoxious. But that's kind of that thing that I get from other people where they're just like, I thought you were a bitch. And it's like, yeah, like I understand because like I do come off very prideful. I do have a laugh that shakes the walls of the house. Yeah. Like I've got big hair. I've got a big smile. I've got like these huge green eyes. I walk with confidence.
Yes,
I
you
talk
do.
with confidence. Like, and I don't get pushed around very easily. And that's all very, very just lion characteristics in general.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Susu and I, when I put her down to bed, we read, and then she wants to watch kitty videos. So I pull up Twitter, look up kitty, which just go to the pages because you never know what you're going to find on Twitter.
I don't have a Twitter account.
Yeah. But right, it'll be cats, kittens, doing all sorts of ridiculous, I mean, like everything that the crazy cats do. And then every once in a while, they'll have a big cat, a lion, a tiger, or something. And I'm like, okay, so they are big, powerful, amazing. But at the end of the day, they're cats. They're doing the same bloody things, right? I just want to go up to them and be like, pss, 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 right?
Here's a cardboard box.
They're just more powerful versions of cats.
You should show Susu some videos of snow leopards.
Oh, yeah.
Because not only are they beautiful, but they're kind of derpy.
Derpy.
They really are. And they have these tails that are...
they're so cool.
They're very, very fluffy, and they're longer than their bodies.
Oh, they are.
They are.
Yeah, they are.
And there's many that use it as like a play toy. And so like you can find these videos on YouTube of snow leopards chasing their tails and like using them as pillows. It's super adorable, and I think Sue would love it.
Oh yeah, okay, that's on the agenda.
Snow leopards are in my top 5 favorite animals of all time. They're really, really cool.
I just saw a baby Black Panther on there, and it has spots. And until they get, is that what? Okay,
so a panther is just a black wild cat,
right?
Yeah, but so you can have a leopard and be a panther at the same time.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, how do they have spots? They're just like black.
Aren't they gorgeous?
Yeah.
Oh, so pretty.
They're
very
so pretty.
Svelte. That's a good word.
Svelte.
Svelte.
That's how I describe your husband.
He's not svelte. He's more memory foam mattress.
Oh, but
Good
his hair,
experience.
his beard, yeah. And then he's always so stylish. I love going to church with him because everybody else is in white shirt, tie, whatever. He's coming in flip-flops,
Rocking the flops.
red pants, whatever shirt. Gosh, I love Triton.
Yeah, he's the best.
He's also one of my favorite people. The two of you together, it's like two of my favorite people together.
Yeah, it
this
works
is great.
really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he on Easter Sunday we went to church and he rocked like his denim button down, short sleeve button down with like some ridiculous tie that looked like it came out of the 1970s.
Brilliant. It probably did.
Yellow pants.
Yes.
And flops.
Yeah.
And then his hair is really long now. It's actually longer than mine. It's like down to his collarbones. And so he didn't bother to shave, wore his hair down, and he was just like, I am repping Jesus hard today.
Yes.
I'm just like, okay,
yes.
man, like whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, he surprisingly, like, I guess our ward doesn't really, at least they haven't said anything to me, doesn't really give him any grief about the things that he shows up to church in.
Yeah, no. Well, and he so there's, to me, growing up and living the majority of my life in the Mormon world, there's that Peter priesthood, like, right, you even go to the MTC, to the Missionary Training Center in Provo, and they've got pictures up. You walk into your dorm. I don't think it's called a dorm. I can't remember what it's called.
Dorm's a good word for it, though. Yeah.
And on the wall is a mirror with a picture of Jesus, and it says, Jesus did his part. Are you doing yours? And it's a picture of Jesus with a part. And I'm like, they are so strict with your hair and with everything else that you've got to have a certain length. I'm sure it's.
Do they still do that?
No, it's probably. I mean, I'm old, so it's probably become a little bit more liberal than that. But like, Traden's not going on a mission right now with his look, and that carries over into adult life in your congregation, in your ward. And it's very, what I do appreciate and love about the church is that wherever you go in the world, you're getting the same Sunday school lesson that week because we're all studying from the same.
Organized.
It's
religion.
Organized.
Like,
yes.
When like people use the words organized religion, like you don't know anything until you've participated in LDS activities.
Yeah.
Like, organized. Everybody across the globe is studying the same thing. And it amazes me because it's so powerful. I mean, like, churches are great for, different specific reasons, but it's really, really powerful to have everybody doing the same thing because it creates a specific vibration.
Yes, it does.
Right. And so like, this may piss off some Christian listeners if you have any, but when you get so many people thinking and practicing the same things, it is essentially very similar to a Wiccan prayer circle.
Yes.
Right? Where you link hands and you start chanting the same words, whether it's Latin or whatever language that you're doing. And like, you can create an energy ring and you can create intention with doing that. And so like, I don't think that the Mormon church would ever identify as doing that type of thing, but it's the same. It is
the same. Well, and what is it? When two or more people gather in my name, there I am. Right? I'm totally butchering that scripture.
Man, I'm not a scriptorian.
But I always loved and appreciated the it's the first. Is it the first Sunday is fast and testimony meeting?
Yeah, typically
first one. And a lot of the time there will be as a ward, as a congregation, we're going to be fasting on behalf of this person who needs help.
Right.
So focus your prayers, focus your intentions on that.
Right.
Well, when you have people that are focusing on something, you're bringing that energy and you're increasing the energy, the more people that are participating. And so you want to know why you see miracles?
Yeah.
Because that's your intention, and it's not just one person, it's 300 people.
Totally. So I call them like my prayer group.
Yeah.
And like, I don't care what you believe in, but it could be vibes, it could be spells, it could be prayers, like whatever words you want to use to identify, essentially sending good feelings and miracles to people. And I send messages or call or text or whatever whenever I need for somebody that I care about, or even myself, be like, hey, will you say prayers for these this list of people
Yep.
because they're really struggling. And like my Aunt Pam is on there. My mother-in-law is on there. My own mother is on there. My best friend from high school, Laura, is on there. And I've started like putting names on prayer rolls for the temples too.
Yep.
Because
Another
like,
perfect example.
why not? And so
Why
like
not?
if I can like localize my intention of like so she's probably not going to listen to this, but my best friend from high school, Laura, she's having a lot of trouble with her oldest, and he's presenting for autism spectrum disorder.
Okay.
And this poor woman is so stressed out, right?
Yeah.
And so like she's not into the Mormon thing, but like I put her name and all of her family's names on the prayer roll at the temple in Seattle. And then like I hit up my mother-in-law in Utah, and she's got like 4 temples like within 20 miles. And I'm like, hey, do you mind? Here's the reason. Here's the names. And she's like, I got you, girl.
I got you.
Right? She doesn't say that, but she's like,
It
yes,
would be funny if she did.
Absolutely. I got you, girl.
I would die.
Yes. Oh, Mia.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like she'll put names on prayer rolls for me in 4 different temples in Utah. And then like I call up my Aunt Pam, and she has like a weekly prayer circle that she goes to, and she's just, and I'm like, hey, I got some names for you, and I got the reason, and can you lock this down for me? And she's like, yep, I got you. And so like I've got networks of prayer circles like helping my people.
Now,
and I believe in it.
Well, and you believe in it. Have you seen it have an effect?
I can't say yes or no because I don't pry.
Oh yeah, that's
right?
a good point.
And so I I wait for that person to maybe mention it. And like I'm not the type of like growing up Christian, and I love my parents. I think they're amazing. But like
your parents are amazing.
They were not like Bible thumpers. They didn't smack me with a Bible or anything, but I certainly had a specific set of beliefs that were crammed down my throat. And so I don't want to do that to people.
Yeah.
So if somebody tells me that, something that I've been praying about for them, or I have my people praying about for them, or spell casting or sending vibes or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Like if they tell me that particular thing has improved, I just take that as a little win for myself.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just like, that's right. I got you.
Yeah.
Right. That's right. God's got you. Jesus got you, girl.
Yeah.
Like, so,
that's so cool.
Yeah. So I don't boast about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you really can, or well, you can. I don't think that you should necessarily be like, oh, the power of prayer compels you.
Right.
Because that's not okay. We live in a time where that like you can't do that because there's so many different beliefs, and like, hey, guess what? It's all the same shit.
Exactly. Oh gosh.
Really
right. Is. That needs to be emphasized. It's all the same shit.
It really is. And so we have to approach that kind of thing with gentleness and grace.
Well, and to me, the other piece, so you can be sending all of that energy, all those good vibes, all whatever it is towards that person.
Right.
Is there a lesson that they're learning in that process that they actually still need to go through that hardship a little bit longer? Is there, or are they ready to accept it? And it's going to come in and it's going to work great. Is it, we don't get to control the outcome. We get to control our efforts.
Right.
And, during Thatcher's cancer treatment, that was definitely a couple of the fast and testimony meetings during those fasts. They were fasting for Thatcher, and we certainly saw an effect.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But then I'm sure there's other examples where, well, why didn't that work for my kid? Why didn't that work? Well, there's something that there was a reason why that wasn't accepted, or maybe that's exactly how it was supposed to be accepted. That's right. One of the things that drives me crazy is we can't understand the mysteries of God. And I'm like, okay, well, that kind of actually does fall under that category.
Yeah.
But that's not the way that I think most people think about it.
Yeah, probably. I saw something recently on social media that kind of speaks to that 50% of the population doesn't have an internal dialogue.
How?
Isn't that fucking crazy?
Yeah,
blows
my mind.
If 50% of the population doesn't have an internal dialogue, there's probably a greater chance that an even smaller percentage of that 50% isn't even working on a relationship with a higher power at all.
Yep.
So it's just like, I think there's a lot of people out there that aren't thinking about God or not even trying. I'm a very deep thinking person. And so it's really, really wild to me that people don't think about the things that I think about, but everybody's different. So,
although all you have to do is be behind some drivers and go, they can't have an internal dialogue because they have no idea what they're doing. They aren't paying attention.
Driver on the planet,
except for you. Except for you.
Damn right.
The only time I'll ever be excited to see a Subaru in my driveway is when Chelsea's over.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people out there that aren't trying to reconcile what they believe about God. I think that there's more nihilistic minded people that are walking among us.
Yeah.
More than we think.
Oh yeah.
More than we think, for sure.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, and that kind of gets to the heart of why I do this podcast is why are you seeing reality the way you are? And I maybe I should ask everybody if they have an internal dialogue and then like separate out my podcast guests and go, yep.
Right. So I would say I have an internal opera.
Okay.
Like,
please
people are
explain.
like singing and yelling at each other in operatic voices.
Yeah.
That makes me sound like I'm schizo. But
a little bit. Yeah.
No, it was supposed to be more of a joke. I have a very inside of my internal dialogue seems to be set on a stage, but it's also Leo energy. So
okay, that's
Leo energy.
So walk me through this. So you're a deep thinker. So some subject grabs your attention, and do you have like, okay, well, from this angle, right? You've got here's the idea, and then you've got that's the protagonist version, and then you have the antagonist, like, well, that doesn't make sense because blah blah blah, and then you've got the role players that are like, well, what about this and what about that? Is that the opera that's going on, or what?
Yeah, pretty much. I would say that's pretty solid. So, and like maybe there's like the protagonist, which is like me, right?
Yeah.
Like gets a little flirty with astrology.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, here's a nice love interest. Like, let's see if this works out.
Okay.
And right now I'm flirting real hard with Jesus. So it seems to be working in my favor as the long-term romantic commitment.
Yeah, that's a good one.
In my opera.
Yeah.
Not that we're making light of Jesus being a romantic partner.
No.
Not making light of that at all. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would say that's
the
grand stage of my internal dialogue.
He is the oh gosh, how am I going to screw this up? The parable of the 10 virgins, and then there's
the bridegroom.
The bridegroom.
Yeah.
That's what how many different titles does Jesus have? There's some crazy count, but bridegroom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So wouldn't be a bad partner.
I listened to a podcast maybe about a year ago about that specific parable, and like the feminist in me, that's part of my
part of the opera,
my cast of characters, was just like, the fuck is this thing about 10 virgins? Like talking about women are not chattel. But there was this, and it's still a very, I don't want to use the word triggering, a light, much smaller version of the word triggering, but that particular parable is a little bit testy.
Yes.
Just because of the way that it's presented. And this podcast that I listened to, I'm going to have to go back and look through my feed. My mother-in-law sent it to me. This woman had this really interesting perspective about the way that these women are being treated. And I'm probably going to butcher the hell out of this, so just forgive me. But essentially her biggest takeaway, and it kind of deconstructs the whole thing that like women don't have rights inside of the Mormon church.
Okay.
And I thought it was pretty eloquent, and like I maybe don't agree with it 100%. I can definitely see why she agrees with it, and she makes some really solid points. But she essentially boils it down to like the way that these women were treated actually indicates that the female is God's perfect creation.
Yeah.
And that we are the crown jewels. And therefore, like, it is more in line for men to have harder jobs so that we don't have to work as hard with like the priesthood, for
Oh,
example.
yeah. Okay.
And like, I guess it's a running joke inside of LDS culture that like Relief Society always has their shit together.
Oh yeah, and the
And
elders
Elders
quorum
Quorum
has no
doesn't.
flipping idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just I'm like I'm totally butchering this, but it was very, very interesting, and I'll pass it on to you if you would like to listen to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm in.
But yeah, it was something like that, and she was just like, "We are the crown jewels of God's creation." I was like, "Okay, but how do you communicate that through the culture?" Because right now it's unfortunately being very painted as like men have all the power.
Well, okay. I think that's funny because I think it depends on the circles. Because
Totally.
and the reason I say that is, patriarchy. Like you think about 1950s, right? Everybody has this idea of the nuclear family, and dad has a suit briefcase and goes off to work and gives his wife
Has a girlfriend in the city.
Well, yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I mean, yeah.
If you watch Mad Men, that's what it
bourbon.
is.
That's exactly what I'm
Yeah.
picturing. Bourbon in the bottom drawer, and at that point, they probably just would have had it out, sitting at their little bar in their office.
Probably.
Housewife with her, polka dot dress on and the apron, and she's
Her
just
pumps, perfect
the
hair.
perfect little housewife. Comes home, gives him his pipe, and he pops up his feet and waits for dinner to be ready. And like, okay, hardcore. The pendulum is over in the patriarchy section.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually, weird tie-in. I was just listening to something about how things have changed, sex culture and everything has changed since birth control. Right. So what is that? 70s, give or take?
Yeah.
A couple of years. And now you've got, I mean, there's a reason why like incels and way more women are graduating college than men are. And like the matriarchy, it's that pendulum is definitely swinging over, and feminism has certainly had an impact on culture.
Oh, for sure.
And it's like, okay, so really that pendulum needs to be like center, like most things, right? Like we need balance.
Oh, we do.
There is so much good on the masculine side, and there's so much good on the feminine side. And guess what? They complement each other. Neither is better than the other.
Correct.
So how do we find harmony?
Do you ever listen to Jared Halverson?
That name sounds familiar. Maybe.
Man, I'm going to sound like I'm super Mormon to the people who are like listening to this. He is a
he has a podcast.
He's a Mormon scholar. He has the podcast Unshakable.
Yes.
Unshaken.
Yeah, and he's like a professor or something.
Yes, he is. And I may be saying this incorrectly. To the best of my knowledge, what I understand that he does is that he is the head of the religious studies department at BYU.
Yes.
He is brilliant, and he loves proving contraries.
Yeah.
That's his thing.
Yeah.
And so he talks often about the pendulum that swings from one side to the other, whether it's religious community versus individual idealism, or just a community versus the single person. So like right now we're very much experiencing the pendulum swing back to supporting individual people versus supporting solely the community, where like you have to bring it in the middle to have true balance. And so I agree. Patriarchy is on one side, and it's interesting because there's this other, there's this lady that I follow on Instagram. Her name's Dr. Finlayson Fife. Do you know?
I know that name too. Is she's the sex psychologist?
Yes, she's a sex psychologist.
Yeah.
Or maybe she's not. Maybe it's not a sex psychologist, but she is a practicing mental health professional.
Yes.
So, and she does often have her posts addressing sex and things, and we all need to be sex positive people, which is huge.
And also that's a whole, like, how do you balance that in the Christian community? Yeah. Right? Good luck.
So, she has this really powerful little phrase that I don't know if she came up with the thought independently, but the opposite of patriarchy isn't feminism, it's partnership.
Oh, that's an interesting take.
Because feminism is the opposite side of the same coin.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Because it's really just the feminine being in control versus the masculine being in control.
Yeah. I like that.
Right?
That's really good.
I think it's really good too. And I'm just like, oh, that was fucking juicy. Dr. Finlayson Fife. Like,
Yeah.
savvy lady. But yeah.
Well, and that takes my pendulum from 2D to there's two things and we're really trying to converge it here. Yeah. I mean, that, which is also a pendulum. So I guess it just changes the model in my head a little bit.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's interesting. So yeah, the opposite of patriarchy isn't matriarchy. It's partnership.
Brilliant.
Yeah. That one blew my mind.
Well,
sure.
And, you know, I still to this day, even last night, I said the lilies of the field, right? Because to me, right, why one of our friends was struggling through, he really wants the future now. He sees this beautiful 5D community. Everybody
August?
Okay. Who I've had on. And he so badly wants that.
Right.
That
with
he can't
living communally and Why not?
Why not?
It's
right?
beautiful.
And he's like, and I just had to pay the tax man. And you know, the way that we do society, everything's so messed up. Why and we all know how to fix it, and we talk about it, and then nobody does anything about it. It drives him nuts.
Right.
And I reference lilies of the field because I'm like,
what is that reference exactly? I've never heard that. Lilies of the field.
It's that the lilies of the field are adorned in all their splendor.
Is that scripture?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's Old Testament. Somewhere around Solomon.
Okay.
Stuff. Or David. One of the two of those. But it's the idea that why are you taking concern for anything? How you're going to get your food, how you're going to get your clothing, how you're going to get anything when God takes care of the lilies of the field and look at how beautifully they're adorned.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
Right. So to me, everything is so synchronistic and serendipitous in my life. I went out to coffee with friends yesterday and we were talking about an old coworker.
Yeah.
And I haven't talked to him in a year.
Okay.
And I told them, I said, well, I am the last one of the three of us that has talked to him. He's doing a driving academy. He lives out in Valley. He's rocking it. He's doing great. I'm speeding down I-90 as I do.
Yep.
And the left lane is clogged up. There's probably a Subaru in the front of this thing. So I go all the way over to the right lane and I'm passing everybody. And I see a driving academy car in front of me, student driver car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's him. And I go around him on the right like I'm not supposed to. And I look over and sure enough, it's him. Huh. So I totally manifest him coming back into my life.
Oh, that's so cool.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And those are the sorts of that's just how my life works. If we all have different gifts and I just have this attunement to when something needs to happen, I know it's going to happen and it's always perfect timing.
Yeah.
And that to me is the lilies of the field. Everything always works out the way it's supposed to. Source, God, creation, it has you. Why are you worried about any of it?
That's cool. What's your, do you know your life path number in numerology?
Oh gosh.
We could figure it out real quick.
Yeah, let's figure it out really quick. I think, is that a 7? Ooh. I think I'm a 7.
Your husband's a 7, or your husband.
She could be my husband.
Maybe. Who cares? Let's not label things. I am sorry, Ray. I love you. I was looking at your husband when I said this, so that's why husband came out. So your wife is a 7. I'm a 7.
Yeah. What am I? I'm a 7 in.
Trayden is an 8.
What was the other? That's the other thing that I love is there's so many different
January 2nd. 1 plus
modalities of figuring out there's one and I can't remember the book title, but there's a lot of businesses that'll have these people take this test and it gives you your 4 or 5. I think it's called Strength Finders. It'll give you your 4 or 5 strengths. And out of 60 or whatever the number is, right. Or it could be astrology, or it could be life path number, or it could be your birth chart, or
Myers-Briggs is a big one.
And Myers-Briggs is a huge one. It's yeah, okay. There's an energy behind all that, and there's a reason why. And so I half the time I get them mixed, and I'm like, I'm a 7 in this, and I'm a 3 in that, and
You're born in 87.
I was.
Okay, so
good memory.
January 2nd, 1987.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got 1 plus 2.
Nobody docks me.
Plus 1. Plus 9, plus 8, plus 7.
10 years from now, they're going to be looking it up.
I knew it. You're 1. Okay, so gosh. 28.
I knew it. What does that mean?
28. So you do 2 plus 8, which is 10, and then 1 plus 0, which is 1. So you're a 1, which means you are. We're going to talk about tarot now.
Yes.
You are the magician in the tarot deck, and he is the master manifester And there is this amazing tarot reader that I follow out of Orlando, Florida, named Madam Adam.
Madam Adam. What a great name.
He's fantastic. And he has this awesome, he's got some really great quotes that I love to just like think about throughout the day. And like, they're really motivating. It's the BAM. It's belief plus action equals manifestation.
Yes. Bam.
Belief plus action equals manifestation.
Oh,
and
that's so good.
It's very in line with one energy.
Yeah.
Like your numerology energy. It's very in line with magician energy. And so I'm sitting here and I'm just like, he manifests some shit into his life. I bet he's the magician. I bet he's a number one.
So the number of times
it just like all came together. That
I've
was really
saved
rad.
this
I
on my
love that shit.
phone. I love the original tarot art. The one with the magician, right? He's like got this look, and the meme always says, "And for my next trick, I'll be turning my thoughts into reality."
Mm-hmm,
and
exactly.
I save it every time I see it because I'm like, "Yep, magician, that's me."
So cool.
Yeah, so I love that. I totally forgot
love that magician art is really, really neat because all of the elements are present in that card.
Yeah,
and you don't see a lot of that through the traditional tarot art. So you have. He's got the wand in his hand. He's got the chalice on his table in front of him.
Yeah.
I don't have the picture right in front of me. Where is, so we
Let me
got
see
wands, chalices, which is cups, pentacles, and swords. And so like I think there might be like a sword on the wall behind him. And then you got it? Oh yeah. Okay. So pentacle, wand in the hand, and everything else is on the table in front of him. Okay, cool.
Yeah, let me see.
So you got the pentacle and the chalice and the sword. So,
okay, there. So you can go look it up now that you know what it looks like.
In general, like there's a lot. One thing I love to collect is tarot decks because I really appreciate the different art that other people can kind of come up with and create their own story. And the magician is often has at least those 4 items somewhere present on the card. And so it's really, really cool. Yeah.
They are, because Ray does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think you influenced that actually.
Oh, big time.
And every time I'm like, okay, this deck's so cool because of this artwork and the way that that artist was able to pull those things out. And
yeah.
And a lot of the time when she's going to do a poll, she'll look at her decks and go, which one am I vibing with?
Is it I gave her, what is her name? She makes a lot of decks. Like she's got actually a huge company that makes decks that are very, very popular.
You could say it. I'd have no idea.
It's like, she's always got like very strong, like ethereal sort of like periwinkle.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Those ones are good.
Those ones are Carol. I don't know her name.
Sure. Yeah, you could have
Carol.
Said. Yeah, Carol.
Carol. Freaking Carol. So hold on, let me see.
It's while you're looking that up, I was cracking up because there was a picture of cups, and the ladies were saying, "We didn't invite you." And the image over is the queen or the empress. I can't remember one of the two. She's like, oh gosh, see, I'm gonna butcher it. Hold on, while you're looking that up, I'm gonna look this up because I thought it was hilarious because all those different energies and the ideas behind them are brilliant.
This is my favorite deck. It's by this really lovely lady that lives in Australia, and I don't know her actual name, but her Instagram is Dreamy Moons.
Oh,
and so here's the magician in this one. And so she
that one's awesome.
She does. It's this is kind of grainy, unfortunately, but like her artwork is very watercolor, but based on the original
tarot card
Rider-Waite deck. Yeah, that was created back in whenever. That was when the Catholic Church ruled everything. So she uses crystals as swords, but you have the sword and you have the wand and you have the cup, and then you have the pentacle, and it's just really cool. She uses stars as pentacles.
Well, and to me that almost looks like the old is that felt? What's the psychedelic poster art where it's all the black? I think that is felt, and then you can color in the white pieces. That's what those look like to me.
Yeah, and so like it's really
that's a really pretty deck.
It's my favorite one.
Yeah.
And I've had a very bad habit of just like buying tarot decks and getting bored with tarot decks.
Well, and they need to be saged and cleaned, and
they do.
The energy needs to, and it's got to resonate when you're pulling them.
Yeah, and I've stuck with this deck for 2 years, and I haven't bought a new one since.
Cool.
So yeah, it's definitely my baby. Like tarot is. This deck is really beautiful. It means a lot to me.
Why?
It just art, right? So art is. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
Right. And so like somebody, have you seen the show Daredevil? I know it seems like I'm jumping around. I have a point.
No, I've seen all the clips on Twitter, but I don't think I've seen a single episode.
So the main antagonist, Kingpin, has in the show on Netflix, goes into an art gallery and finds this painting. And it really just almost looks like old school stucco, like on the side of a house.
Yeah.
Right. But we later find out, and he's very emotionally wrapped up in this painting. Right. And so like later we find out that like, it's really sad. Like his father beat his mother. And often when this would happen, his father would stick him in a chair and make him stare at this white stucco wall. And so the only comfort that he had was being able to zone out while staring at this wall. And so like beauty's in the eye of the beholder. That's what I was getting at.
Yep. I got shivers because yep.
Right. So we start getting down into why I like this deck. It's really the art of it. And I'm a little dark and twisty. And so, and like, I feel like we live in a very, very dark world, right? And that we all have our own internal light, whatever you want to call it, like our own lanterns, light of Christ, whatever. And so like the colors and the way that she manipulates her paint on these black backgrounds just kind of reminds me of that inner light.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And so like if I want to rely on something that is going to remind me of that inner light.
Yeah.
That's going to bring that kind of energy.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Beauty in the darkness. So it's such a beautiful deck. I almost brought it with me and I totally should have.
Oh, you totally should have.
Bring it with me. But yeah, so that's
we'll save that for a later date.
Yeah, for a later date. I also really appreciate the artwork from the original Rider-Waite deck because it does tell a story. You can just sit and look at each picture and you can create your own story.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why it's also called the Fool's Journey. And like each card represents a different journey that the fool, who is the antagonist or the protagonist of the story, is experiencing. And so, that's in the major arcana.
Right.
The minor arcana has more of like day-to-day types of things that you just have to encounter because agency is a thing.
Right.
Anyway, but.
Well, and each of the tarot decks comes with a little booklet that, explains each of the things. Mm-hmm. And
they're all pretty much the same.
But there's some slight variations and depending on the author and the artist and all that stuff, there's, they'll add it. There's a little bit extra there. And especially like if it's an animal tarot deck.
Yeah, I like those. Those are cool.
Those are cool. Well, this has got tiger energy. And so, that's a slight variation on whatever the theme is.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, like, I'll read that and there's going to be things that hit, but more to me, I'm looking at the pictures and going, what is this? How does this speak to me? How am I interpreting this and not relying on somebody else's interpretation? Even if they were the artist, right? And that's like listening to music. It's like looking at a piece of art. It's like taking in anybody else's work and going, yes, they had an intention behind this, but why am I looking at that stucco wall and going, that has a totally different meaning to me than it did to the artist?
Absolutely.
Quentin Tarantino, I just watched this clip where he was talking about why he doesn't tell people why he named it Reservoir Dogs.
I've actually never seen that movie.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I've been told.
All of the Tarantino movies are fantastic.
I've seen many of his movies, but I have not seen that one.
Well, or it's like in Pulp Fiction, like what's in the suitcase? Like it could be that guy's soul. It could be
the one at the end where-
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. He
Samuel
never
Jackson
in the movie
episodes.
he never shows what's inside the suitcase.
yeah,
Right.
okay.
Every time they open it, it glows and people are looking at it, but you never get to see it.
He's
And-
captured a leprechaun, and
It could be.
he's sitting on a pile of gold in there.
Totally.
Mhm.
Yeah. But he in this clip talking about Reservoir Dogs, he goes, "I had a reason for naming it that."
Yeah.
And that checks out. But what is, he goes, 20% of a movie is the audience's interpretation of it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm putting my art out there and I want people to get a message out of it,
Mhm.
but they're a participant too.
Mhm.
And so I like when the artists themselves are, or like there's a lot that'll, like Dave Grohl's my guy, right?
Yeah.
Well, what does this song mean? Well, for him, that was about a breakup and it was about this and it was about that. But what is it about for you? When you're listening to it, what are the emotions that you're feeling? What are the memories that are coming up?
Right.
How does that motivate you? How does it antagonize you? What?
Right.
wh-
Dude, this is probably not one of, like, if we're talking about Foo Fighters fans, probably maybe not one of the more appreciated songs. It's wildly popular though. Best of You.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that song fucking gets me every
It
time
does
I
it?
listen to it. I love it.
Yeah.
And the music video, it's like this giant montage of it's almost like memories,
Yeah.
right? Someone's experiences, like, and I don't think
And
that
some
there's
of
like
them are beautiful and some of them are ugly.
right? I don't think it's necessarily one person's perspective.
No, I think it's yeah.
multiple.
Yep.
But like, I fucking love that song.
Yeah.
It's so good. And yeah, it is. It's like whatever his intention was for writing that song isn't necessarily the same message that I'm going to receive from it.
No. Well, and the
It's really
two thoughts I always have with that song right out of the gate is, because the line is someone getting the best of you?
could be about a breakup.
It could be, right.
Yeah.
Has somebody just been taking advantage of you?
Mhm.
Right. Or are you giving your best to
Right?
somebody
Are
else?
you getting the best of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like, are you putting in the work to be the best version of you
Yeah.
for your sphere of influence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
That's a good song.
That is a good
I
song.
love that
That's
song.
a good pick. It's really fun to drum too.
Oh, I bet you love it.
Oh, I do.
Does Gabe drum to it?
Yes, but it's not one of his
Not one of his go-tos?
Not one of his go-tos.
He's still obsessed with Everlong.
Yes, because he's phenomenal at it.
Yeah.
And that's
course
kind of
he
a
is.
joke within drum circles, because like I can play almost every other Foo Fighter song.
Mm-hmm.
For the longest time, I had a reverence towards Everlong that I'm like, nope, I'm going to leave that one special, and I'm not going to play
solid track, man. Like,
It-
that's such a good song.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And the drums are hard. And now that I've gotten old, I get
You're
about
not
like
old.
a
That's
quarter
mindset.
of the way through the song, and my wrists are just I don't
Dying.
have where Gabe, he's young, he just like flies through that song, and then he adds other quirky things on top
Mm-hmm.
of it, and so that's one of his go-tos.
That's cool.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've scratched a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
And so now I'm curious how we got there in Chelsea's life.
I don't know.
And so we can. I'm gonna put this out there, and you can totally take us somewhere else.
Okay.
But you mentioned. I mean, we've been talking a lot of spiritual and religious stuff.
Yeah.
And you mentioned one brand of being brought up in
Uh-huh.
to where you are today. So can we go down that journey? Let's do
yeah.
that side of Chelsea. What was it like growing up there? And maybe that'll delve into other things in
Mhm.
your upbringing. But how did you go from what you were brought up in to where you are today?
It's an interesting road. So I was brought up Methodist, and yeah, it's interesting because I do have a very strong spirit, and I march to the beat of my own drum, like to my mother's maddening, like absolutely. I think, I don't know how often I hear at least part of this where she would just like, about, I don't know, just for example, tattoos, right? So it's like, she's like, your tattoos are always so beautiful, but why can't you put them on your walls? Right. So that's sort of like,
well, you did put it on your wall, your human body
my
wall.
human body wall.
Yeah.
Thanks. I like that. I'm going to say that to her next time. But so yeah, raised Methodist.
What does that mean, by the way? Because I
march to the beat of my own drum.
What do Methodists believe? What was your recollection of what it meant to be Methodist?
You know, I don't really know.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because like, honestly, when I was younger, like I didn't give a crap about like religious practice.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
that makes sense. Like, and it's not because like I chose not to give a crap. It's just that it didn't mean anything to me at
Right.
the time.
Yep.
So from what I understand, being Methodist, it's like you only do, it's called communion in the Protestant bent of things. Like you do that once a month, and there's like the symbol, like the Methodist symbol is like the cross with the purple sash
Oh, yeah.
draped
Yeah. Yeah.
across it.
Yep.
And I think it's actually probably pretty self-explanatory. Like Methodists believe very much in, it's like ritualistic,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So doing things by the book, like there's work in your methods, right? There's faith in your methods.
Yeah.
At least that's what I think. I'm probably like way off base here because I actually haven't looked into that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. Well, because I always,
Mhm.
because somewhere in either mine or Rachel's or both line, there was Methodists and grandparents
Yeah.
or great grandparents, something
Mhm.
like that. And so whenever I'm talking, yeah, that could be Methodist, that could be Baptist, that could be go down the line.
Right.
I always throw in the Methodists, and
Uh-huh.
I'm guilty. I should probably. I just know that they're a Protestant faith, and they're just a different bent of
Right.
that.
So I need to refamiliarize myself with like what is the main thing that make Methodists.
Yeah. But for whatever reason, didn't resonate with you. But did you guys go
No.
to church every Sunday? Was
yeah,
that
we did. So we went to church every Sunday. I moved around a lot as a kid because my dad was a naval officer. But I would honestly say like the first time I was really impressed by religious faith was when I went to a Catholic school in
Yeah?
second grade. Yeah.
cool?
Very cool. And I just adored my second grade teacher, and she was a nun. And like,
Yeah.
I wanted to be a nun. I know. Isn't that some wild ass shit? I wanted to be a nun. I loved her.
I want some reality where you became a nun, and I just want to like cameras on the wall, fly on the wall. What is that nunnery like? What is Chelsea's nunnery?
I think it's called a convent.
I'm calling it a nunnery.
Okay.
Convent, whatever. What is that convent like?
Oh man. I would back to Daredevil. I'd imagine that I'd be very similar to Matt Murdock's nun mother.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that the? Oh, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No, I'm a comic
Oh.
book nerd, and I didn't know that.
Well, according to the Netflix
To
series,
the Netflix series.
his mother abandoned him for spirituality and the
Okay.
church.
yeah.
Yeah, and she became a nun because that's always what she wanted to do. And she got like distracted fell in love with his dad. And it was
Man.
just like, I can't do this. Like, I have to give my life to God, which
Yeah.
is really shitty to abandon your child.
A little bit.
But-
little bit. Doesn't
Yeah.
seem very godlike, but you
No,
know,
it doesn't.
whatever.
But superheroes are complex and dark.
Yes,
So
they are.
anyway, moving on from Daredevil, we all know what my favorite comic is.
It's a good one.
Yeah. So the first time that I was really genuinely impressed to embrace something surrounding religion was in the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And I have this memory. I was 7. It was so, man, I'm so cute.
Yes,
And
you are.
this, they're called fathers
Yeah.
in the Catholic Church. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, the priest is
the priest.
referred to as father. Yeah.
And he gets up, and we're just having like Wednesday morning mass,
Mhm.
right? And he gets up and he says, I will give anybody $5 who can tell me who Saint Elizabeth is. And I stood up on the pew and pretty much shouted at him, 7 years old, and gave him an exact detailed account of exactly who Saint Elizabeth is. And he walks up to me and hands me $5.
Brilliant.
And then later pulls me aside with my teacher, and he was like, I was not expecting you to know that at all.
That's
He
so
was more
good.
like directing. So the Catholic school that I went to, it was kindergarten all the way up through seniors in high
Oh,
school.
okay,
So
yeah.
it was we lived in Key West. So it was like super small,
Yeah.
4x4 island. You're not going anywhere.
No. Everybody knows everybody.
Everybody knows everybody.
Good luck and away with anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's really where I got my first interest in religion and spirituality, was
Okay.
because of the influence of the Catholic Church and this second grade teacher that I absolutely adored, which I assume at this point she's probably passed on.
But I take it she wasn't having you put your hand out and smacking your knuckles with ruler, which is my image of a nun
No,
at Catholic school. Which
at least that's
is
not
totally
my memory
wrong.
of her. I adored her.
I was going to say, it sounds like there was a lot of kindness and love
Yeah,
and
it really was.
guidance.
It was a great experience. I was only at that school for a year, and then we moved to Virginia. And while
did
we
that
were in Florida, in Key West, we went to attended a Lutheran church.
Oh,
And they have like the weird crackers.
yeah.
Yeah, and they actually give wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at least this one did.
Yeah.
In my memory. So they actually have like, it's the same little cups that you have in sacrament meeting for the LDS church, but like a little sip of wine and like this weird Jesus cracker. We went to a Lutheran church. That is all I remember about that experience, because I was super young. But yeah, definitely more impressed with Catholicism at that period in my life. I was devastated that I couldn't get confirmed because I wasn't Catholic.
Oh,
I was devastated. So sad. And I wanted to get baptized Catholic when I was like 7, and my mom was just like, no.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That friend that I went to the bonfire last night, he's sending his son off to a Seventh-day Adventist college. And they looked at a ton of colleges, and it's the one that resonates with the son the most.
Okay.
And this particular friend is not like he that was the first thing we talked about around the bonfire is I'm really concerned about sending my son to this because I have this set of spiritual beliefs.
Yeah.
And I want my son to see the world in this way because
it's fulfilling for him.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want him to be swayed into mainstream religion and the
Seventh-day Adventist is not mainstream.
Well, it's organized. Certainly an organized religion.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was okay. So we have this concern, but you need exposure, and he's going to go make his choices, and you can't control his life.
Right. The best way that he can love his kid, and I'm not trying to give this dude parenting advice. I don't even know him, right? The best way that he can love his kid is to let him explore that.
Exactly.
And then come back to him and be like, Dad, let me show you what I learned.
Yeah.
And hold space for that.
Yes.
Or be like, Dad, I learned some crazy ass shit. I want to come home. Right. So
yeah. Well, and
hold space for that too.
And let's say your mom had let you go be Catholic. You get confirmed.
Right.
What does that look like? Would you still be Catholic to this day? Or would you have?
It's possible that I could have been.
Yeah, it is. And but is that a bad thing, a good thing? It's a different thing.
It is a different thing. And I don't want to jump like too far ahead, but when I was considering reestablishing my life with Christ, my commitment to Christ, like I very much went to the Catholic Church as my first, this is probably something I need to look into just because of the huge impact that it had on me when I was a child.
There was good here. I should go explore that some more.
Right. I, in general, think I love Catholics. I think they're freaking awesome. And I really respect the tradition and the rituals and just their general reverence for God and the Holy Ghost and Jesus. And I think that it's done very, very beautifully. I think in general, like it's pretty freaking classy. Like I love it. Yeah. I really love it.
Well, and there's a reason why I always think it's funny when Protestant Christians go, well, Catholics aren't really Christians. Like,
no, they are. If you follow Christ, you're a Christian. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Although, again, have that conversation with a Baptist, a Lutheran, a Calvinist, any of those, and they'll be like, well, there's a reason why we went off because they went off the rails and we had to bring it back to the right way.
Right.
Sound like a familiar theme, like across most things. But when you have something like, I'm going to get this number off, but it's close to 3 billion people on this planet are Christian, right? Under that umbrella, it's still less than half of the world.
It is, but it's still 3 billion people. It's
and then
people.
Over half, it's something like I think it's 2.5 to 3 billion people are Christian and 1.5 are Catholic. It's close to that. There's a reason why that many people, especially within the Christian umbrella, practice Catholicism.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason why everybody is still obsessed with, like, you can't go without doing something that's impacted by the Catholic Church.
Oh, for sure.
We just had Easter Sunday. And
Yeah.
I don't care if you are pagan,
Mm-hmm.
if you're Catholic, if you're Christian, if you're Muslim, like, go down the list. I'm totally rabbit holing again off
It's
of my
okay.
own rabbit hole. Somebody made the point, Christ has already won.
Totes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's my firm belief on that note that like none of us are going to hell because Christ has done his job.
Yes.
Done.
Done. The point and I had never heard it this way, and I loved it. And because everybody's agreeing, and he goes, "What year is it?"
Am I supposed to answer that
Yeah.
question? 2025.
Just to make sure, because
Okay.
it's 2035, you're like, Brandon, what? Are you okay?
Did you take some mushrooms this week?
I could have. It's mixed in my coffee.
Ooh, fun.
2025. Why is it 2025? Why do we measure it as 2025?
Okay. Yeah. No, I get
Because
where you're going.
We base it off of when Christ was born. Well, why
Mhm.
that, right? And then you can go into, well, the Catholic Church and this and the, right. It has impacted everything in the world.
It really has.
And we're all going to be paying attention to, the Pope just died.
Oh, yeah.
Do we get black smoke or white smoke? Did we get a new Pope? Did we not? And why are we concerned if we got a Pope? Because we didn't get a Pope. The Catholic Church has got a Pope, but everydy's going to be paying attention.
I have a prophet. So
Well,
isn't
right.
that kind of like my Pope?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, thank you for letting me rabbit hole for
Yeah,
a
no
second.
problem. I love it.
But it is. Catholic Church is beautiful.
Yeah, the Catholic Church is beautiful. And there is not a single person that is going to go to Paris and not try to go to the Notre Dame Cathedral.
Of course.
Right. There was, this is really funny. My best friend's brother, I think it was him that said this. He was a Marine
Mhm.
and in like the worst parts of the globe, unfortunately. And he said that everybody's a Christian when there's gunfire because they're down like, oh, please, God, please don't kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
it's
no
interesting.
atheist in a foxhole.
Yeah, that's what it is. There's no atheist in a foxhole.
Yeah.
But I heard him say that and I was like, solid.
Yeah.
So moving on throughout my life, we moved to Virginia, started getting involved in the Methodist church. And I don't know, it was just not necessarily a bad experience, but it was more of like a social experience.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So my mom and dad were very adamant about me having friends through church. And
Okay.
I think that's pretty normal for Christian families.
Yeah. Because they have the same values.
Mhm.
You know what's going on. You want your tribe to be your tribe. And as soon as you start mingling with other tribes, it gets scary.
Right. And when you can establish a connection with somebody who has the same beliefs as you, like there's a certain level of trust that's built, right?
Yep.
So I got involved let's just like fast forward to high school because like we really don't need to like, I don't remember a ton. Like the most impactful thing from my little childhood was the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
So we get into high school and I start going to this, what was it? It's like a youth group. It's called Young Life. Have you heard of that?
I was just talking to another buddy about Young
Yeah.
Life. That's how he met his wife.
All right. Trayden and I, when we went to Hawaii, befriended a couple from Juneau, Alaska,
Cool.
who met in Young Life.
See?
Yeah. So it's a thing. People meet.
Yeah.
People meet in that. So I got involved with Young Life, and started participating in like weekly get-togethers, and it was a social event because like I wanted my friends to go and like I wanted to be around them. And so like I would invite other people, like boys that I had crushes on, or like a new girlfriend that I found at school that, you know, like, oh, we should, you know, go out and have some fun, like come to this Young Life thing. And I started probably around 14 or 15. I started getting I'm not a Christian, so I'm not going to that. And I was like, what does that mean? Right. And I was like, well, it's not just like a Christian thing. And like this boy, he was a year older than me. I think his name was Jared. And he played the bass guitar and wore skinny jeans and Chuck Taylors.
Sounds very cute.
Yeah. Or very emo, whatever you prefer.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I'm never, ever going to go to something like that. And I was like, but why? Like, it's just a bunch of people having a good time. And so, like, I
Right.
never really associated like that people had identities outside of like spirituality in general or religion. Right. And so it's just like, oh, yeah, everybody goes to church. Wrong answer. But that's more of like a coming of age experience, I think, in general, where you start realizing that people have their own identity and they have different ways that they were raised, and like they have different ethical codes and moral codes, and they walk different paths. And so anyway, so all of these things started converging for me around the age of 15.
Well, and you're a deep thinker. So
yeah. So
now that's captured your imagination.
It has. And I'm just like, what is all of this? So I had this very good girlfriend on my basketball team named Kelly, and she enjoyed going to the Young Life stuff like I did. And she found this church, and she started inviting me to go with her. It wasn't like a youth group kind of thing, but anyway, it was Pentecostal.
Oh.
I'm not gonna.
What does that reaction mean, Chelsea?
I do not think that this was actually a true blue version of what Pentecostals genuinely believe, but this was probably a bastardization and an abomination of what it is that they believe, because it was some dark ass shit. Like, it really, really was.
Well, now you got to give me an example.
So at first, like, she started having these like meetings in her basement, my friend Kelly.
That's where the best things happen, is in somebody's basement.
Puts the lotion on his skin. I'm just kidding. That got dark fast.
Yeah, thanks for those images in my head. Jeez.
So she started, like, it was like a youth group kind of thing. And so she had like 2 youth leaders that were older, and like my friend Kelly, like, she had this really big, beautiful house. And so like this really beautiful basement space that was like a walkout daylight basement. So it was really, really nice. Anyway,
Not creepy Silence of the Lambs.
No, not creepy Silence of the Lambs
right.
at all. But so she was really, really excited about it. She was like, oh my gosh, like my church is going to start meeting at my house for like the youth. And I was like, all right, I'm down. Like,
cool.
I like your house. Let's go.
Let's do it.
And the 2 youth leaders, there was one man and one woman. They were engaged to each other, and they had never kissed one another. And their first kiss was going to be at the altar.
Yeah, over the altar.
And that struck me because, you know, I was more judgy back then than I am now. That struck me as really, really strange.
Yeah.
And so I was
what if he's a bad kisser? That's a bad connection the rest of your life.
Right. Not so much that, but more of what kind of rules and regulations are we dealing with here? Mm-hmm. And so like to have that like deep-seated reservation, like if you want to call it the Holy Ghost or my higher self talking to me or a spirit guide talking to me, like whatever it is that you want, like something struck a chord and it was really bad.
Yeah.
And I was just
that is off tune. That is out of tune.
I don't know about that shit. But so I kept showing up for my friend because it meant a lot to her and she was great. And then we started actually going to the church. And this is probably I wouldn't say it's one of the worst experiences of my life, but it is the worst religious experience I've ever had. Mm-hmm. Do you know what speaking in tongues is?
I knew that's where we were going.
Oh, okay. So traditionally, if we're talking about someone speaking in tongues, it is, and outside of the Mormon church, because it has a different meaning.
Totally different meaning in the Mormon church.
Like speaking in tongues in the Mormon church means like you can essentially, Sandy Schumann, she told me this and it was great because she has the gift of tongues. You can, with the guidance and the help of the Holy Ghost, you can cross language barriers.
Yeah.
And be able to communicate perfectly with someone who doesn't speak your language.
Yep.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh, that's freaking cool.
Well, and missionaries will talk about it all the time, where you could be in high school and take a language for years and go try and speak that with somebody, and good luck. You have like rudimentary understanding. Right. You get called on a mission to Japan, and next thing you know, you're out there and you can speak Japanese in very little time. And so that's
wild.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So this is where it's like, it's very clear to me in all of the years and time and space that I've had between this event and my life now, that like this was a bastardization of what Pentecostals actually believe. For a very long time, I was just like, Pentecostals worship the devil.
Well, because were they just like you go to that meeting and everybody's just like
Everybody's
hooting and
literally,
hollering?
it literally sounds like parcel tongue, like out of Harry Potter. And not like this is like a hokey thing. Like it was creepy.
Yeah.
Very, very creepy. And so like I went very much into my shell at this one particular meeting, and this woman comes up to me and she grabs me by the hands, and like we're talking like spirit fingers. Like these people are electrified. Like they're doing backflips, they're gyrating on the floor. Like they are just like one of those wacky inflatable tube men, right? And I'm just like, okay, Jesus fingers, chill out. Like this is insane. And like,
whoa.
I think that the power of Christ is calm and it's composed and it's discerning. It is not chaos.
Right.
Right. So, and like having that perspective now, I can look back on this situation and be like, oh yeah, that was really fucked. So this woman comes up to me and she takes me by the hand and she was like, child, why are you so sin laden?
Whoa.
Oh yeah. And I was just like, in my mind, I was like, I'm 15. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a good girl. I love Jesus. I'm still a virgin.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm trying to do the things that I had a purity ring and everything.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to do the things that I've been taught, like, right. And live the way that I want to live.
Pass judgment on somebody you don't even know, lady.
Oh yeah. It was really bad. And so like she took my hands and like she pulls me up and she's like, I'm going to pray with you. I'm going to pray with you. And I'm just like, okay. And so she starts screaming at the top of her lungs that I need to be given a new virginity.
Yeah, because the one you currently have.
Virginity well intact, by the way, at this point in my life, right?
Yeah. Still need a new one.
I needed a new one, and I needed a new one stat. And she is so loud over the top of everybody else in this congregation
all
that
eyes
an actual circle forms around me, and they all start doing their creepy ass parcel tongue thing while she is screaming that I am sin laden and need to be given a new virginity.
How did you not just run out of that building?
I did.
You did?
I did.
Dip.
And like, I could not find my friend anywhere. She was probably somewhere in this circle. I could not find my friend anywhere. I had one of those.
Yeah, she needs a new virginity. Let's go.
I had one of those old Motorola flip phones.
Yep.
That was my dad's. And he was just like, here, and my mom gave it to me.
And we'll buy you some minutes.
Right. It's like, here, take this. Call us when you want to be picked up.
Yep.
Right.
Right now.
Yes. Come get me.
Yep.
And so like my mom comes to get me and like I'm sobbing. I'm in tears. She comes to pick me up and she was like, baby, what happened? Yeah. And like I never told her what happened until I was in my 30s.
It's been a mystery for decades.
Yeah. But like I took off that hat of Christianity and I put it down.
No, thank you.
And I was just like, I'm not doing that at all anymore. So I actively left Christianity at the age of 15.
Oh, yeah.
I was done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, that was probably that was the worst experience of my life to that day.
Wild.
Yeah. Not like I've had other experiences that have been great. Yeah. But, up to that point, yes, that was the worst experience of my life.
Well, and especially after you had really cool experience with Catholicism. Mm-hmm. You've got some Lutheran in there. You've got some Methodist in there. Mm-hmm. And then you go to this Pentecostal, like, forget all of it. I'm out.
Yeah. Like, I'm out.
That's a pretty strong impression.
It was very, very strong. And I think, is Young Life non-denominational?
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah. Okay. So
and you had good Young Life experience.
Non-denominational.
Yeah. So you didn't go to any more stuff after that? No. Because you're like, I'm not getting caught in that situation. Nope, I'm out.
So after that, it became, I had this older friend who was a senior, and she was into like Buddhist stuff.
Okay.
Right. And we went on, actually, no, I did go to some more young life things, like maybe some like ski trips.
Okay. Because you
Right.
knew it was probably relatively safe. You weren't going to get encircled.
Right.
About.
And then like I also had like some friends that were still in it. And I was like, well, I really want to spend some time with friends. And I had this super cool senior friend that was going. So I was like, oh, I want to go hang out with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so she started talking to me about, she was standing outside. I don't know what, it almost like in my false memory tells me she was standing outside smoking a cigarette, but she was not.
Although I like how
like,
you cooled that up a little bit. Like, yeah, she is.
Like that's how I felt about this person. Like I just thought she was really, really cool.
Yeah.
Smoking cigarettes is not cool, by the way.
Depends on, some people look really cool smoking cigarettes. Health effects are not cool, but
anyway, so yeah. We start having this conversation like in this little, I don't know, ski bungalow thing about just Christianity in general. And so that's when I really started seeking out like the experiences of other people. And she started talking to me about Buddhism. And so I put that on my radar for a while. And something that, I guess I do have to backtrack a little bit to like age like 11 or 12 when I discovered astrology.
Oh, cool.
Right.
Okay.
And so
it's a key component.
Yeah, it is. I really enjoyed reading about it because I think of that same thing of like, there's a connection that you can have to the stars because like we can't see God, but like that has to be like the closest representation that we can get, right? It's far enough away.
Well, and where are the heavens? Everybody thinks of
right,
up
the
in this,
heavens.
right?
And so I got into astrology and I found some like dumb website on AOL or something that like talked
back
about
in the
it.
day.
And
took an hour to
it was
load.
like, oh look, they have these cute little animals. Because of, lions and goats and whatever. So she started talking to me about Buddhism. I remembered what I had learned like back from when I was like 11 or 12 and kind of like skimming the surface of astrology and just kind of thinking it was cool. And so I started getting more into stuff like that around the age of 15.
Okay.
While still like for sure feeling a pull back and forth from, and I think a lot of people go through this when they leave Christianity, like your heart kind of goes like in a tug of war.
Yep.
Right. Where it's just like, oh, well, this is what I've been taught. Like, I need to go back to this.
Yes.
But then like your heart gets pulled the other way and it's just like knowledge, information, right? Like come this way. And then it's just like, it's this tug of war. So
Beautiful
there's many
way of
years
saying
that I spend in kind of like this tug of war, but I'm very much looking into other schools of thought.
Yeah.
Right.
When you said knowledge and information, was that the pull? Was that what attracted you to it, or was there what did you like about that?
I'm a deep thinker, and I like just new information is always really, really interesting to
Exposures.
me. Exposure, experience,
The best medicine, hell of a drug.
It is. Yeah. So, oh man, where was I going with that?
It took us off track. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So you start looking into Buddhism because of that friend that
Right.
wasn't smoking a cigarette.
Even though I wanted her to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though you wanted her to
Even
be.
though I wanted her to be. So yeah, my taste in music changed too at that point in my life. I really got into Incubus.
That was a great concert, by the way.
That was my first concert.
Good. Wait, Incubus was your first?
Incubus, yeah, was my first concert.
That's so cool.
Incubus and Hoobastank.
And Hoobastank.
Yeah.
Who can forget Hoobastank?
The Civic Tour.
Yeah.
That was really good. But yeah, so my taste in music changed very, very much. And
what was it before that?
I don't know. It was probably I was still into like rock and roll and stuff, but it was probably included maybe some like Christian music and like I don't know, whoever was popular at the time.
Yeah, some pop music.
Right. And then like stuff that my mom listened to, like Whitney Houston and Luther Vandross, Trisha Yearwood, Vince Gill, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it was interesting because like looking back on it now, like I really started defining who I was. And it was very much a coming of age sort of experience where I was just like, I need to get as far away from this Christianity thing because this has caused me the most pain in my life.
Yes.
At the time. And I started looking into other stuff, things that would bring me peace. And you can be a practicing Buddhist, but also be affiliated with another religion.
Yes.
So it's not a religion. Buddhism is not a religion. They do not worship the Buddha. Becoming Buddha is a state of mind.
Yes.
Right. And so like there's a lot of misinformation about the practice of Buddhism that floats around.
Most Eastern traditions
Yeah.
are misunderstood in the West.
Deeply. And they're not New Age.
Nope.
No.
If anything, they should be called old age.
Old age. Old ass age shit.
Yeah.
That's been working for millennia. Anyway, so yes, you can be a practicing Buddhist and be a Catholic. You can be a practicing Buddhist and be a Muslim. You can be a practicing Buddhist and be a Mormon. Whatever you want to do, you can combine the two and they will blend perfectly because that's what it's supposed to do. Buddhism is supposed to blend with the lifestyle that you already have.
Yep.
It is kind of a one size fits all. And there's obviously little bits of nuance.
Variation. Yeah. On that theme.
So I started getting into that.
Well, and I like how you said a second ago, it was bringing you peace. Because I think that's ultimately right. We have these traumas in our life and we go, I don't want to touch that stove again.
Oh yeah.
I want to be whole. I want to be healed. I want to be comfortable. I want to be at peace.
Right.
And that search for peace takes people all over the place. Mm-hmm. And you can think that you found peace in something until there's something that jars that peace. And then you're like, okay, well, maybe that was just a temporary peace. Maybe that's not deep enough peace.
Right.
I either need to dive deeper into that thing or I need to go explore more stuff.
Right. Exactly. So where are we at in my life? So now I'm in college and like, I don't really think that I'm thinking about that kind of stuff at all, other than maybe my experiences with Deja vu.
Oh,
right?
Okay. Can we rabbit hole on that really quick?
Yeah, go for it. So I have this, and some people might just think that I'm nuts, or it's like, oh, your neurons are misfiring. I don't know what it is, but deja vu has always been something that I have experienced in my lifetime. And it comes from dreams that I have had.
Yeah.
Like not just like sitting around daydreaming and looking at a window, right? I'm talking about like deep REM sleep dreaming kinds of things. And then like they will happen.
Yep.
And so the Mormon church calls it a gift of visions.
Yeah.
Right. And so like I've had these experiences with deja vu. And at that point in my life, it was kind of the only thing that was tying me to spirituality in general and that God still exists.
Cool.
Right. Because like, how do you explain being able to have dreams and then experience that dream in the future or in the present tense as part of the future? Right.
Because nothing outside of spirituality explains that. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you said, your neurons are misfiring. Okay. Well, that's a hell of a coincidence. And especially how frequently?
On and off, but sometimes it would be as frequently as several times a month.
That's amazing. Because I have pretty cool deja vu too.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes I can go, it could be a decade before that thing happens. Sometimes it's a month. But yeah, the deja vu thing is.
Have you ever had shared deja vu? Like with another person?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of. It's a trip, man. And this guy that I dated briefly, he is my family's landscaper. He and I were standing in the middle of an organic vegetable field and shared deja vu.
Cool.
For, I want to say at least a couple minutes, which like 120 seconds of shared deja vu is a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And it was absolutely wild.
That's so cool. And was that just like in the moment you both were like, we've done this before?
Yeah. Like I remember like and there was other people involved in it, but I remember like reaching out to him and being like, are you experiencing what I'm experiencing? And he was like, are you having deja vu right now? And I was like, yes. And he was like, uh-huh. It was some wild crap. So like deja vu, and this kind of like opens up some other schools of thought about maybe spiritual contracts.
Oh yeah.
If you are having deja vu, there has to be, and maybe even a little bit of Carl Jung's theory of shared dream space.
Yep.
Right. So if we're all sharing dream space and like in our sleep states, communicating with all these people, right, that have all these different contracts that we have, then like every once in a while, whether it's the DMT in your brain or your neurons are misfiring or you actually have the gift of freaking foresight, at some point, like you're going to have these little things that are going to come up with other people.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Right.
And we are all connected. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Jung's, shared dream space is a pretty cool concept.
I love that one. That was one of the main topics on my first date with Traden.
It was?
It was.
Okay. Do you, for all those that don't know what we're talking about, do you want to give them like a brief, what does that mean? Shared dream space. And I
shared
mean,
dream
it's,
space.
yeah.
So have you ever had a shared dream with someone?
I'm sure I have. Nothing's coming to mind, but
Nothing's coming to mind. Shared dream space is a trip, and it's similar in a way to Deja Vu, but it's, from what I understand, like, this is getting kind of wild, maybe a little bit out there. It's essentially like when you go to sleep, like I cannot put this into words right now.
Well, so, I mean, okay, let's touch on the DMT thing really quick and tie it in. Our pineal gland produces DMT, right? And DMT is one of those where you can take straight DMT from an external source, and people trip on it, and it's usually a 5 to 10 minute trip. But people go to a space, and almost everybody, I mean, it's like pretty well documented. They will describe the same space. They will describe the same entities. They will, right? Like they're going to a common space.
Right.
And so your pineal gland, folks, is producing DMT, which also brings into question, well, what is reality? Are we all just tripping out right now? And what is this reality?
I'm open to that.
So when you sleep and your consciousness, your soul, goes to wherever it goes while you're sleeping, why wouldn't you go to a common space?
Right. So like you're essentially interacting with other beings.
Yeah, other consciousness.
I've always, sorry, I had a hard time like articulating that, and you did a great job of doing it. But yeah, so I've had shared dreams with other people. There was this couple that I went to massage school with. Their names they are alive. They are not dead. Their names are Travis and Anthea. They are no longer together, but I remember going and sitting by them and being like, hey, I had this really wild dream about you guys last night. And like Travis like looks up at me and he was like, I had a wild dream about you guys last night. And I was like, okay, bro, what? He was like, no, not like that. And so like he starts describing his dream, and I start adding to it, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I know you were like wearing a gray hoodie, and like Anthea was watering her plants, and I was sitting on a giant cream colored feathered couch, and we were all just like sitting there drinking tea and like hanging out and chilling. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, whoa.
That's so cool.
Right. So Deja Vu, shared dream space, like these things are all, they're all connected. And like, to me at that time was just like, this is spirituality. Like this is the only experience that I can have right now that's going to keep me tied to my spirituality.
Right.
Right. Have you seen the movie Waking Life?
No.
You need to watch Waking Life.
It's on my list.
Okay. So you need to watch it because of this. It takes the theory of heaven.
Okay.
Right. And it actually compounds it into the 15 minutes after death while your brain is still alive.
Oh.
And going into shock and essentially overproducing DMT.
Yep.
To like allow yourself to disconnect and no longer be in pain.
Beautiful.
It's really, really cool. It's
so cool.
It's wild to me now that like early 2000s counts as being an old movie.
Oh gosh.
But
yeah, that's 20 years old now. Oh
right?
my gosh.
It is a very good movie, and I think it's a really interesting representation on this one person's belief as to what's actually happening, like when we quote unquote go to heaven. And so in this person's perspective, it was, there really isn't heaven at all. It's just like your brain produces all of this crazy DMT and you're having like an absolutely
awesome trip.
Beautiful hallucination that feels lucid.
So I'm going to piggyback on that because I had a guest on a few episodes ago named Autumn, former LDS. And she was the first person that we she voiced it the same way that I believe, that whatever you believe is going to happen after you die is what you get.
Okay.
So if you believe that it's heaven up in the clouds with the angels, if you think it's walking out into a meadow and having your friends and family run up to you and your old pets, if you think you're getting purgatory, if you think whatever it is. And so if we create our reality, then why wouldn't you, as you're getting that flood of DMT in the post 15 minutes of death, why wouldn't that, whatever that moment is, be that?
Right.
Be exactly what you just said.
You've experimented with psychedelics and other things.
So me?
So like, and you understand that like when you're in that state, like 30 seconds can feel like an hour.
Yes.
Right. So it completely changes your perspective of reality.
Yeah. Well, and time is a construct, right? Which is why I like the shared deja vu or shared deja vu, shared dream space, all those things, because that kind of helps connect me to the spiritual world too, from a time doesn't mean anything. So, and space means nothing. So why wouldn't I be able to go to sleep and in that non really tied to my physical body state, be in space, in a different space and time with other people?
Yeah, for sure.
Of course, that makes sense.
There is this woman in Puyallup. Her name is Jen, and she has a really beautiful spiritual healing practice. And I think it's called New Moon Spiritual Healing.
Is that where we did the meditation? Or that was like a solstice?
Oh, she was, no, but she has been connected to that yoga studio before.
Okay. Yep.
So Jen, she's really, really amazing. I haven't had an interaction with her in a long time, but
left an impact, it sounds like.
Yeah, she really did. And she was big on astral projection.
Yeah.
Which kind of also ties into this Jung's theory of shared dream space. And so whenever she would dream, she was like a labor and delivery nurse for spiritual beings.
That's so cool.
Right? In like her purest white light form or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And so like she was just really such an amazing person. And I wish that she lived out here so that you could have her on, because she's freaking awesome.
We'll have to make that connection. Coeur d'Alene's not that far away.
No. Maybe for her.
Maybe,
but it was really, really cool to hear her talk about that and astral projection. And so yeah, all of these things that are very, very light based, all connected to deja vu and
well, yeah. And so having those experiences in your early 20s, being more tied and interested in Buddhism, meeting her along this journey, what else is in between that?
What else is in between? I have kind of jumped around a little bit. So there was a period of time when I was just like having deja vu, and only relying on that to get me to have a foundation in spirituality. What happened? I joined the Navy.
Oh yeah. How old were you when you joined the Navy?
23.
And what was the drive there?
I was either going to end up on drugs, dead, or pregnant in jail. And I needed to just change my life around.
Those all sound like fun options. What are you talking about, Chelsea?
I didn't want that for my life. I needed to get out of, I was repeating some pretty toxic cycles. And it was from maybe being lost and like not really feeling spiritually connected, but only feeling spiritually connected in like really, really small, minute ways. And so like I just kept repeating cycles. And I needed to get out of that. And I knew that the military was going, it was like that contract was either like, get up and do it, bitch, or I'm going to break you. Right. And so like I really, really needed that very badly.
Well, and you had that modeled for you from your dad.
Yeah, for sure. And he's the most successful person I know. He is my favorite person on the planet.
He is so great.
He is so
I am
great.
so excited every time he's in town and we happen to be in town too. And I'm like, I get to see Chelsea's dad.
I know. Dennis is awesome.
He's awesome.
And there have been many times where my husband has been standing next to my father and I have like, it's not like I forget that my husband is there, but like I will actively tell my dad that like, you're my favorite person in the universe. And my husband's standing there.
Am I chopped liver?
And he's just like, he doesn't really take it personally because he knows how I feel about my dad. But and I'm just like, and you're my second favorite. But, so yes, I had it modeled for me as something that was successful. And I also knew that if I got through an enlistment that I could go back to college for free.
Oh yeah. That's
right?
always a good,
so that was a motivator.
that's a good carrot.
And I went back to church for a little while.
Okay.
With a girlfriend of mine. Her name is Danielle. And she's actually now Catholic.
Oh,
and
cool.
she's got like, I think she maybe has 5 kids.
Yep. That sounds right.
I actually ended up encouraging her and her husband to get together.
Oh, good for you. Nice.
And they're still together and they have a beautiful family.
Good pairing.
Yeah. And
good matchmaker.
I am. Excellent. So I went back to church and like just a couple of times and it was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No circles forming to
no circles forming. And I was just like,
tongue.
like I was just like, okay, like I feel better about this. Like I went and I revisited it. And I'm still gonna just, put that down.
Yep.
So I ended up meeting my ex-husband, Sean, and he was raised Catholic. And we both kind of came together in maybe what would be a trauma bond over like religious oppression.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so like we kind of built this universe together where we were very anti-organized religion.
Okay.
Right. And so like things really started solidifying for my perspective at the time through this connection that I had with my ex-husband.
You had this bad thing happen. I had this bad thing happen. See, this thing is bad. We're bonded.
Right. And there were other things that we both really liked too. Music, exercise. Like we had more than one connection other than like religious trauma.
Yeah.
But it was definitely something that was like, I do believe that like if you are going to make something work with somebody, you have to have the same spiritual beliefs. Whatever your spiritual bent is, like you have to be able to agree on that because it's very, very divisive if you don't. So we agreed on this and that was very important for me and it was very important for him. And we moved into this little duplex up in Oak Harbor when I was still in the Navy.
Yeah.
And it was so picturesque. It was really, really
I didn't realize you were up there.
Yeah, I was. I lived up in Oak Harbor.
Love it up there.
Yeah, it's great. Well, maybe Oak Harbor isn't great, but like Whidbey Island is pretty rad.
Yeah.
So we got married and we moved into this duplex and it was haunted.
Oh, yeah.
So it was haunted and I'm talking like it was maybe 2011.
Okay.
And so like I start reaching out to my parents and I'm just like, Mom, Dad, like I don't know what to do. Like I'm freaking scared. And
what are the experiences? How do you know it's haunted? What's happening?
Okay, I got to get more into it. So like my ex, like we were dirt freaking broke, and my ex took a job down working for an electrician company called Frula, but they did work in Seattle. So it was really, really hard.
Was he taking a ferry?
No, he wasn't.
Driving all the way around?
He was driving all the way around, but he stayed in the area.
Yeah, because doing that drive every day makes zero sense.
Yeah. It was very, very hard on me. And I would imagine that it was probably pretty hard on him too. So like I'm having these experiences in this haunted house, right? And like I'm freaking out. Like my husband is away. And like he had already been telling me about some experiences that he was having when I was on deployment. And like it was like messed up stuff. Like this entity was like possessing his dreams and like giving him nightmares, like demonic nightmares and stuff like that.
Oh.
And so it was pretty wild. And like he's like, this is our livelihood. So he's having to take this job and I'm having to be in this house by myself. And like, one of my friends from my division, and I look back on it now and he totally was into me at the time.
Yeah.
Leo energy. He was totally into me at the time. And I was just so blind by it because I was absolutely terrified. he would come and sleep on my floor on an air mattress that he brought with him so that I would feel more comfortable. And like, I remember this one time, like we both, his name's Eric. We both woke up like, and like, I come running out of the bedroom and he's like on the air mattress, like in in the family room. And like, there was this like little green orb that was like circling around my house. And I was like, dude, do you fucking see that? And he was like, I do. And so like, we're both just like absolutely paralyzed by this thing that's happening. And I'm just like, I gotta get the fuck out of here, man.
Yeah.
So I reach out to my dad and I'm just like, Dad, I don't know what to do. And like, this was either my higher self, my intuition, the Holy Ghost, whatever you want to call it, because it was just like, you have to talk to your dad about this over anybody.
Yep.
And he goes, I can't help you, but you know who you should talk to? My sister, your Aunt Laura. And I was like, okay. And like, I was fascinated by her when I was a child, but she always lived really, really far away from me. She was very nomadic, super eccentric.
Yeah.
Lady.
She's the crazy aunt.
She's
that
the
you
crazy
don't,
aunt. And one of my most beloved family members. So he's like, you need to talk to her because I think that she can help you. Cool. So I formed this relationship with my now deceased Aunt Laura, and she starts guiding me through how to deal with entities.
Cool.
Right. And so like I formed this really beautiful relationship with my aunt, and she introduces me to crystals and Reiki and tarot and runes, and it just opened.
Pandora's box has been opened.
Right, it opened this world.
Yeah,
and so I started revisiting my interest in astrology, and so like I could call her up, and we would talk for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah,
about all of these different things. And so it was really, really awesome. She was a mentor to me for a very, very long time. And then she unfortunately passed away in 2021. She had COVID.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was really sad. But she has this book, and I would love for you to be able to read it. That was written by her husband, and he's passed on too. He died from cancer. But it was called, what is the title? Unknown Journey to an Unexpected Destination.
That's a great title.
It is. Or it's like Unexpected Journey to an Unknown Destination. That's what it is.
Yep.
And it's the story, it's their love story of how they met. But there's like all of this very deep spiritual stuff that's going on with both of them. And my Aunt Laura, she was a medium. She was a psychic. She was a level 3 Reiki practitioner.
Yeah, she was tapped into all those gifts.
She was tapped into everything.
Cool.
Absolutely everything. So she was this huge guiding light in my life for a very, very long time.
The energy, the sense that I'm getting is she had to be a really confident woman.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would absolutely say so.
Yeah, there's a power there. There's a that sounds like that would have been such a fun relationship.
It's a blast. And I still have a relationship with her. Like she's always with me. She like sits on my like jury of spirit guides. Yeah. Like on a regular basis. So like she's
I like
always
the way you describe that, your jury of.
My jury of spirit guides.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm imagining your opera stage, and then you've got them sitting off to the side.
Yeah. My journey.
Your jury box.
My jury of box of spirit guides. So
did she end up helping you? What happened with this entity?
So she said like this. Oh, so she started introducing things like sage to me.
Yep.
And I was like, sage? You mean the thing you put in food?
Right.
And she's like, yeah, like you can get rid of nasty entities.
Yeah, it's cleansing.
Right. And it ended up that I did not get rid of the entity, but I was able to clear all of the negative energy that was bound around this negative entity, or around this entity. And actually, she was a very, very lovely lady. Her name was Paulette.
Cool.
And she had been residing in my home since World War II.
Oh.
Because the duplex that we had was old World War II bunkers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they like fixed it up and like made it livable space, right? And so like I end up making a connection with this dead woman
Yeah.
Right. And this is when I make the connection that I'm a medium. Like I can communicate, and I started understanding what the veil is
Yeah.
and being able to communicate across the veil.
Yeah.
And so like I really start tapping into my own personal power, and my own gifts and my own, it was just so freaking cool. So I make this connection with this woman, and like we have this relationship. I had started getting into yoga because my aunt was just like, you need to do this.
Yeah. I was wondering where the yoga piece came in.
Yeah,
So I'm glad that.
it came. Well, I had this really, really not so awesome LPO in the Navy that gave me a yoga DVD on deployment, and she was like, "Oh, you're into exercise. Maybe you'll like this." I'm like, okay, whatever. And so, it was actually her DVD that I used because my aunt was just like, "Oh, you need to get into yoga," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I got a DVD somewhere." So I started practicing yoga regularly, and making this connection with this spirit, and just really being able to discern like what is my place inside of this new spiritual experience that I'm having. Right. So it's just like, all right, cool. Like you're a medium. Like that's pretty freaking rad. That's something that not everybody can say that they can do.
No, it's not.
It's not. And I started having other experiences too, where I could almost hear other people's thoughts. And that's when I don't think this term is used very often anymore. That's when I was introduced to indigo children.
Oh, tell me more.
Do you know about indigo children?
I've heard the term. I know nothing.
Okay.
Beyond that.
Indigo children, it's like crystal children, empaths. I think the most common word that's used now would be empath. And so it comes from like this perspective that there are beings walking around us that have very, very heightened spiritual gifts.
Yes.
And because we live in a society that essentially requires you to oppress that stuff.
Yeah. And when 50% don't have an internal dialogue,
right?
What are the chances they're tapping into those gifts?
Exactly. So you're oppressing all these gifts, and it comes up like if you're not answering the call, like it comes up as rage, or it comes up as ADHD, or it comes up in other different types of mental illness, depression, anxiety, stuff like that. And so
because you're a fish out of water. You aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Exactly. And so like these indigo children that have like these huge spiritual callings are just essentially being like, nope, thumb under.
Yep.
You will be minted and coined into what society wants you to be. So they're supposed to like essentially radicalize society, re-radicalize society. Yeah. And I think that we can see a lot of that happening now.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, indigo children, that term has fallen by the wayside in the last decade. I don't think very many people are familiar with it anymore.
I like it, though. Yes. That's a good, yeah.
So for the first time in a long time, where we're at on my spiritual journey, I was able to identify myself confidently.
Yes.
I am a medium and I am an indigo child.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I still believe those things very much. So it was really confidence boosting, to know where my place was in the world. And I went on with that set of beliefs for a very long time.
Well, and that gives you a sense of self is a good way to describe it, because when you're raised and bouncing around with friends and trying out different things and getting some good feelings here and not good feelings there. And then you think teenage years and 20s, you're really trying to congeal all that and figure you out. But then to me, it almost feels like you have to go through these experiences. And if you do listen to your intuition, if you do reach out to your dad who connects you to your aunt, if you follow the serendipitous moments,
because we're all connected,
that's when you really all of a sudden like, oh, all this stuff that has happened has led me to this point, and now I get to, there's an explanation. I understand this now. I understand me better. Mm-hmm. Oh, and because there's actually a way to define this, or there's a sense of direction, I get to go like really dive into this and hone those talents.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So firmly rooted in this new belief system. And then I left the Navy and I went to massage school. And I started learning more about metaphysical healing.
Mhm.
So I knew what Reiki was. And I knew the basic concept of it, but I was very, very interested in this laying on of hands, right, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get to that.
I was going to say.
So
yeah.
it's all like going to get tied up in
It's
a
all
nice neat little
connected.
bow.
It is.
So, and this is another defining moment for me. Like I get into massage school and like the things that I had been studying in the Navy, oceanography, or like high level arithmetic, physics, and it just was not my jam.
No.
Like I had been, it was so stressful to me that like a Navy psychiatrist had diagnosed me as being ADHD, put me on 40 milligrams of Adderall. I
Holy
wasn't
shit.
fucking sleeping because I'm not ADHD.
Right.
And then put me on trazodone to help me sleep. And like, I just thought that I was like the dumbest person on the face of the planet. So we get into massage school
Holy
and
crap.
all of this stuff starts just coming so naturally to me.
Yeah.
Like I am putting in minimal effort and having massively positive results.
Yeah.
Right. And like to the point where if I put in maximum effort, I'm actually teaching my fellow classmates.
Cool.
Right. So like I end up and I had this really lovely connection with another veteran in my class. Her name is Ricky, and she gave me Daisy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I miss Daisy.
She gave me Daisy. So we have this really, really great connection. As being like the smart girls in the class and being really, really helpful to everybody else. And that was also very defining for me. So it's just like, holy crap, like I actually am an intelligent human being. Like I actually have other gifts that I can give to people. And so like all of these things start being solidified into like who I am as a person. And then that's when I got into tarot. Like I bought my first tarot deck. And it was with that friend that I told you about, the shared dreaming with Travis and Anthea.
Uh-huh.
We went up to some obscure little crystal shop, I think in Everett, Washington. And I saw from the doorway, like all the way kitty cornered across the room, this little tarot deck, just like, bink, hi, hello, you need to come look at me.
Oh,
and
it
I
called
did.
out to you.
It called out to me. And I walked from that door back to that tarot deck and to the cash register. And I bought that tarot deck. And I don't use that tarot deck anymore, but it was my intro.
That's what you needed at the
into
time.
the practice of tarot.
Yeah.
And I was an absolute natural.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Right. And so like people were shocked that I had just been practicing maybe for a couple of months when I started doing like readings for my classmates in massage school. They were shocked.
Well, I think some people get offended by it because
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I don't appreciate is when somebody's like, well, how long have you been on your journey? Like, well, are we defining this by when I left the church or like my life?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you've
January 2nd, 1987.
Yeah,
that's when I started.
That's when I started.
Uh-huh.
And so it's that kind of overnight success concept. Like that's not a thing. I've been working on this for 10 years, for my whole life, for whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so just because I've been bought my first deck a couple months ago doesn't mean I haven't been practicing my entire life.
Right. And so this is not like my friend Jen, who's the spiritual enthusiast in Puyallup, practices tarot in a very similar way that I do. Where because I'm a medium, I can also communicate with people's spirit guides. And so like I'm pulling these cards and I'm listening to their spirit guides help me interpret what's going on in their life.
So can we dive into that for a little bit? Like what does that look like? What is that communication with spirit guides? How does that show up? How do you experience that?
I've experienced it in a few different ways. In one way, it was an exercise that I did on a retreat with this friend, Jen, where what we were doing was we were essentially just practicing our own spiritual, like strengthening our spiritual muscles.
Yeah.
And there was like 30 women in the group, and what you had to do was we like closed our eyes, like we did a little meditation, and like what we were supposed to find was at least one spirit guide for the person on either side of us. And it ended up being like towards the end of it, like everybody was just like, oh yeah, I see like this spirit guide for this person and this spirit guide for this person. So it really like it blossomed like very, very quickly. And so sometimes it's just an internal knowing.
Yep.
But sometimes like if I could close my eyes, like I actually have a visual representation of that spirit guide. And there was this woman across the room from me in this particular instance where her spirit guide was the Archangel Raphael.
Cool.
And so I saw him standing there with a flaming sword, right?
Kick ass.
It was very kick-ass, also really fucking scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, this thing's standing right next to you.
Have you seen an archangel? They are God's warriors.
Yeah.
They are not gentle.
No.
No.
No,
Anyway,
they aren't cuddly.
they're
Cute
not
and cuddly.
They are warriors of the Lord. So I see this like entity behind her protecting her, and the person sitting next to her is just like, I think you have an angel behind you. And I just piped up. I just like spoke out of turn. I was like, it's the Archangel Raphael because he has the flaming sword. And she was like, yes, he does. He has a sword and it's on fire. Right. And so like, this is the dynamic of this group. So that one was very, very visual. And then like this other girl who was sitting directly beside me, like I closed my eyes and it was just sort of like, I heard the sounds of ocean waves.
Cool.
Right. And the woman who was across the circle from her said, I see you sitting in a giant seashell. And then I piped in again and I was like, I hear crashing ocean waves all around her.
Cool.
And she was like, yes. And so, and that particular person, she makes crystal jewelry and it's really, really cool. And she does a lot of the cleansing with water. Right.
Yeah,
and so,
makes sense.
So it's really, it can be a feeling. You can actually visually see something. It manifests in a lot of different ways, but you just have to be open to it.
Yeah. Well, and you said, practicing working those spiritual muscles.
Yes, you absolutely have to practice or you'll lose it. It's like language.
It's like anything. It's like your actual muscles, right? That's why we use that, what is that metaphor? Simile? Whatever that is, all the time, is because if you want it to become stronger, it doesn't matter what it is in your life, you have to practice it. And if you don't, it's going to weaken, atrophy, die. Absolutely, it will. Yeah. And then you also, so that's the actual, my brain just went blah. Okay. Is how closely related is that to the empath piece, or is that a different experience? So the empath piece, I think, is more like, so we start getting into the clairs, right? Yeah. Clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient. Yep. And so clairsentient, I think, would be, is clairsentient? Yeah, clairsentient, I think, would be the one, and if I'm misspeaking, please correct me, would be the one that's more in line with what an empath is. Okay. So an empath is being able to connect to the person sitting next to you with empathy and allowing yourself to feel that person's inner emotions, whether it's turmoil, joy, bliss, whatever it is that's going on with them. Yep. But also being able to tell them like, hey, this is going on with you. Right. And then clairaudient is the ability to hear the voices across the veil. Yeah. What did I say? Clairaudient, clairsentient, clairvoyant. Clairvoyant is being able to see the entities across the veil and potentially into the future. Oh, and so I think there's a much bigger list that goes on and on and on about all of the different clairs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. Well, and I like that it's recognizing it and then, okay, let's practice. Let's practice. Yeah. Because you will lose it if you don't. Let's see. So I totally took us off track there. Where were we? It's okay. So we're at my journey, massage school. Like I've established myself as as a spiritual, as among your spiritual person, a teacher among my fellow students. And I had this really lovely friend, and I am going to use the word had because she's no longer with us. No. She told me
And this is when I had always been fascinated by auras.
Oh, can you see auras?
I haven't practiced in a long time.
Okay.
But
all right.
yes, I have the capacity to do it, but I have to practice it more.
Yeah.
And she could see auras very, very easily. And she always told me that my aura was gold.
Cool.
Right? Big Leo energy.
Yeah.
The sun. It's all going to come back to big Leo energy. I'm kidding. So my aura is gold, and like the gold represents like enlightenment or something like that. And there's a color code that you can look at for spirituality and what the different colors mean inside of the aura.
Yeah. Are you
what
giving
people's
off purple? Are you green? Are you red? Are you orange?
Right. I'm apparently gold.
Yeah.
So according to her, and I know that other people have seen other colors. So there was a period of time in massage school, again with Travis and Anthea, where we would take breaks and just line up across the white wall and just like essentially just like space out. Right. And so like you're spaced out, and you kind of have to, it's not really a trance-like state, but I would call it like the 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah.
Right?
You're
Which
trying
is a
to read
military
between the lines.
Right. So it's the 1,000-yard stare. You're looking at something, but you're not focused on anything. And with that delicate balance of things, you can start to see colors manifesting around the person's body.
Yeah.
And it's really, really cool. And there's been other times, and when I knew that I could see auras, it was actually with the lovely friend Danielle that I set up with her husband, Jeff. And she stopped by to have dinner with me when my ex-husband was away working. And I just remember out of nowhere, like all I saw was gorgeous turquoise all around her.
Cool.
And then like it faded into blue, and then it turned into purple. And it was almost like watching somebody paint behind her. And like auras are a living, breathing thing that envelops us.
Yeah.
Right. And it's put off by our frequency, like our internal frequency, our energy levels.
Yeah.
And
well,
so
I mean,
like,
just like a flame burns differently depending on how hot it is and all those other things. Why wouldn't your auric field do the exact same thing?
Exactly.
It's just different vibration that's causing a different color.
And at the peak of my practice in auras, I almost felt very much like Phoebe off of Friends, where I wanted to go and like pluck the dust out of people's auras. And it was not received very well unless your names were Travis and Anthea and Madeline. Or people that were inside of that little group that we had created for ourselves. So yeah, auras are really cool. And there's an entire field in the healing arts that is dedicated just to aura reading and cleansing. And it's really, really beautiful. I would love to get more into that. But I never really went past more than just practicing occasionally, being able to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and if at some point it really calls to you.
Yeah, at some point. And like, I haven't thought about it in years, like seriously thought about it in years. So it's obviously not a super deep calling, even though I think it's pretty freaking rad. It's
cool.
Yeah, it's very rad. So massage school, I think I kind of fell off a little bit with spirituality after my ex-husband and I really started having some pretty big discord in our marriage. But I mean, my aunt was always an ever-present force in my life, and I turned to her a lot. And I continued on for many years with the beliefs that I had, and got more into learning about different things with Reiki, got more into healing the body. And then I spent some time in Arizona and got a lot more into crystals and different types of crystal healings because like I was only 90 minutes from Sedona.
Oh yeah.
Have you guys been?
No.
No, you need to go.
Real bad.
Yeah. And I would even suggest
I want to go rock hounding down there real bad.
I would even suggest like making your wife pitch a tent and camp.
Do you think I can get her to do that?
If you tell her that there's quartz in the soil, probably.
Yeah.
Because there is.
And I'm sure the night sky is phenomenal.
All of those colors. Oh, it's breathtaking. if I were you guys, I would go to Sedona and I would go on a camping trip. You can do a fancy glamping trip for Ray, so she has
I'll
showers and
rent
stuff
a
like that.
camper, pull it behind the car.
Like what I'm getting at is though, like you need to sleep on the ground.
Yeah.
Because of the quartz that's in the soil.
Oh yeah. Just all that energy.
Yeah, it's amazing. And there's vortexes everywhere. But Arizona is where I really deepened my practice with yoga. So now we're on to the section of spirituality that is also wrapped up in the practice of yoga.
So you graduate massage school?
Mm-hmm.
And is that your vocation then? Is you're practicing massage and you're still deepening your yoga practice?
Mm-hmm.
And then, because at some point you become certified yoga instructor.
Yes, and that's in Arizona.
That's in Arizona. Okay.
So my ex-husband and I go our separate ways. I meet somebody new, and he is the father of Jasper, my other cat.
Yes.
And we're still very dear friends. He's still a human being who's very, very dear to me. It just, ended up not working out. But we moved to Arizona together. At this point, I had only been practicing just like yoga in my living room with DVDs and stuff.
Yeah.
And still like very much honoring the practice that I had. And I actually started getting more involved in studios. Right. So I had been to a few studios with my friend Madeline, and I had experienced hot yoga a few times with my friend Madeline before she passed.
Love me some hot yoga.
Yeah. And so like at this point, when I'm moving to Arizona, Madeline has died from a heroin overdose. And it was like 2 months before I'm moving down to be with Scotty in Arizona. And I dove into yoga like I was grieving.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was grieving my friend so hard because she was like the most beautiful person in every room, not just physically, but also just on every single level that creates a human being to walk around in time and space. The most lovely, the most beautiful person in the entire world. I grieved her really, really hard, and I dove into yoga, and that's when it became it was almost an obsession.
Why did that help?
I felt connected to her. I really, really did. 'Cause she was a yoga instructor.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And she told me, she was just like, you're such a natural with all of this stuff. Like I could totally see you being a yoga instructor one day. And so I took that very, very seriously in an attempt to connect with my friend. And I was practicing every day, twice a day. And it was very, very, intoxicating and cleansing at the same time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really, really is.
That's a cool combo.
It is. It's almost like that proving contraries thing.
Yeah.
Like if something's intoxicating, like the part of the word tox is usually not like.
Yeah, that shouldn't be both cleansing.
Right. It should not be both cleansing
toxifying.
and detoxifying.
Yeah.
Or intoxifying.
Yeah, intoxifying.
So it was intoxicating and it was very, very cleansing. Also, it's really awesome exercise. I took you to a hot yoga class once.
Good.
It's so good.
You're all flexible and
it's
feel good and like, strengthened because man, the amount of
strong
holding some of those poses.
Were you really sore like through here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I signed up for a YTT, a yoga teacher training, and I start diving back into it's not Buddhism, it's actually Hinduism.
Yeah.
Right. So it's an ancient Indian practice. The primary religion in India is Hinduism, and Hinduism is actually the oldest organized religion on the planet. Very, very sacred practice. It's really, really cool. So I start incorporating all of these different concepts, the 8 limbs of yoga, but also still like, cause you can attach it very easily to Buddhism, like practicing non-attachment, still very connected to everything that my aunt had taught me, and she was still living at the time, with Reiki, and Reiki can be incorporated with yoga very easily.
Right. Like
you can just have somebody in the back doing like their own practice, and you would have to be a Reiki master to be able to do it. But doing their own practice and essentially like administering Reiki to the entire room while you're practicing yoga. And that's the kind of stuff that you get in Arizona.
Yeah, that's so
because
cool.
of the influence from Sedona.
Yeah.
In Phoenix, the influence from Sedona, it's really cool.
Well, can we dovetail there really quick.
Yeah.
So when I was going to start this podcast, I was looking at a gentleman who owns a studio.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to rent space.
Mm-hmm. Like
And
a yoga studio?
No, podcast.
Oh, a podcast studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, we started talking about my podcast and he's like, yeah, I could totally do that. And then I said, okay, well, and then Ray and I are going to do another podcast called A New Faith
Mm-hmm.
where we talk about this and this and this. And then he got into, asked some questions about what Ray does.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's a Reiki master. She does this, does that. He goes, oh, I can't do that. I can't have her in my studio.
Why?
Very hardcore Christian. And he had this list of, well, she's new age and she practices energy work and he listed yoga on there. And I'm like, the fuck is the matter with you? Why do you even care? Like, what is it with hardcore Christianity and not liking yoga? Because I think for most people in the West, they think of yoga and it's, yep, you're holding these poses.
I think they think we're taking like you're holding poses out of like a tantric sex manual or something.
Okay, yeah. So there's definitely that piece of it, but then it is tied to Hinduism. And so where's the, for most people, it's an exercise. For most people, they think of it as physical. I think a lot of people in the West think of it as physical.
Yes.
What is the spiritual component and the Hinduism tie and some of the other stuff on the yogic side?
I would say that it's probably meeting yourself where you're at that day.
Oh.
So something you could be a practicing yogi for 20 years. Yeah. Like one of those like super ripped little ladies that can do all of the handstands and like they're practically gymnasts, right?
Yes.
And like do all of the super, super hard poses one day, but then show up the next day and not be able to get anything out of it physically. So you have to be able to tap into yourself and be like, what is it that I need right now?
Right.
Is it that I need deep stretching to be able to connect with myself and my purpose? Or is it that I just need to lie here?
Right.
And shavasana and soak in the heat into my muscles and relax. So I would say that it's more when it comes to practicing yoga, that's more of the spiritual component.
And maybe that's a good question. Follow-up question is, what is the point of yoga?
I think it depends on who you're talking to.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But what I'm getting a sense of is connecting with self.
Yes, connecting with self.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's some people that see it only as a form of exercise.
Yeah.
But like, what are they getting out of that? Is that exercise allowing them to have more peace in the day? Is that exercise allowing them to burn off excess energy in the day? Is that exercise to fulfill boredom?
Right.
Like whatever it is. So yeah, I think it completely depends on the person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me.
Oh yeah, no worries.
Diversion.
So where are we at? Okay, so YTT. I'm really, and it's not that I didn't have this thought before, but I'm really starting to connect that like all this shit is the same. It's just a different recipe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
well
all
said.
of this is the same. And there was a period of time where I was super anti-Christian just because of my experiences that had happened to me. And so like I start lightening up. I had this, here's a trip for you. I'm working in a massage envy in Phoenix. And I really started lightening up on being anti-Jesus around this time because there was a guy who worked there, and my ex-husband's name is Sean.
Yep.
His name was Sean, and he was married to a woman named Chelsea.
Oh.
And I was just like,
guilty by association.
The fuck is happening? Pay attention. So I had already divorced Sean at this point, and I was just like, no, I want nothing to do with that guy.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like that towards him anymore. He's a person. He exists in time and space away from me, and I hope he's happy.
Yeah.
I genuinely do, and I think that he is, and I think that's great. So I really started paying attention to this person, and he is still a Jesus freak. Absolutely. And he was just so kind to me, and his wife was so kind to me, and just, I don't know, just a very, very likable person. And so like I would say that this was my foot in the door for like shifting the way that I view Christians.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
And like, obviously I still respected my mom and dad, but I was just like, you guys are just stupid if you're still believing this stupid crap. Right. Just very, very judgy and dumb way of thought. So yes, I started, and I even had a few visions of like being surrounded by the light of Christ while practicing yoga.
Cool.
And just kind of like having like an internal conversation of like, all right, like, yes, like I understand that you're a person and you did a lot of things. And so I started really, a lot of good things. And so I started really kind of like re-elevating him in my life to sit at a place with Muhammad and Abraham and Gandhi and like these really, really deeply influential spiritual leaders
Yeah.
for different religions. And so like I started to level the playing field as far as the way that I viewed religion. Like it is like a lot of it to me is very, very similar. So that's where I'm at and where I'm in Arizona. So I moved back to Washington and COVID happens, which was demoralizing on so many different levels to so many different people.
What was why leave Arizona?
My ex, Scotty, actually got a relocation package for a motorcycle company up in Lakewood.
Oh, okay.
Up in Lakewood,
Like,
Washington.
I know what it's like up there. Sure.
Yeah. So he was born in Washington, and his mother is still like not doing very well and on oxygen, and he wanted to be up there closer to her. And I was just like, yeah, I love Washington. Like, let's go.
Let's do it.
So COVID happens and our relationship unfortunately starts to unravel. And I got, my aunt passed away.
Oh, you're just getting
I'm
hit.
getting hammered. My aunt passed away. My aunt Laura passed away, and I'm just devastated. And my relationship with Scotty started really falling apart. In the middle of all of that, though, I got connected to my biological family.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
So that was the first year of COVID in 2020. And that was just like earth shattering on so many different levels. And my biological mother is a non-denominational Christian.
Okay. Yep.
And just, she's very, very peculiar and super quirky, but she is the salt of the earth.
Yeah.
She really, really is. And she believes very, very much in God and Christ and all that stuff. So I start having these influences outside of my bad experiences of Christianity. And she was absolutely one of them.
I love that because I feel like there's a scale. And here's this really, you had the good Catholic and one. And so now you got the scales going this way. Then you've got craziness and it's thunk, right? Like,
right.
Nope, not doing that. But then there's all these moments and now the scale has gone back.
Yeah, the scales are starting to go back in the opposite direction.
And I feel like we're going to have to deep dive, maybe not deep dive, but touch on the biological family thing.
Did you meet her at our wedding?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, she's so freaking cool.
She is.
Love her. And this was another point, huge point in my life because she's deeply spiritual.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a medium and she has the gift of visions and so I'm starting to understand where like my mom and dad, like they're very, very Christian people.
Yep.
They're not as spiritually connected as I am.
Yeah. Well,
right. And that's okay. Like that's just not somebody's gig sometimes,
Totally. Well, and I like how you said it, different recipe or no, how did you phrase it? Different recipes. We're all getting the same.
Yeah. It's like different recipe. It's like everybody's got a different recipe for chocolate chip cookies, but at the end of the day, it's still a freaking chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Or I think another phrase is like same song, different dance.
Totally.
Or same dance, different song.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, because I think that's where people get stuck is this is the way.
Yeah.
It's like, bitch.
Tis not.
All roads lead to the same destination.
Correct.
Yeah. And when you can incorporate more of them, and that's especially chocolate chip cookies. I love being like, okay, I like this consistency and this is the dough recipe that gets me there. But it doesn't have pecans or walnuts or whatever.
Right.
And sometimes I don't want chocolate chip cookies with nuts. And sometimes I do.
Yeah.
And sometimes I want salt sprinkled on top.
Right. And then if you really want to get into the method in which you make it, like the daily practices, the discipline. Like, do
Yeah.
you cream the butter and the sugar together?
Right.
Or are you a person who just throws it all in, crosses their fingers, and hopes for the best?
And are you using browned butter or regular butter, salted
Mhm.
butter, unsalted butter? Like,
Dark chocolate, milk chocolate,
there's
semi-sweet chocolate.
so many variations on
Yeah.
the theme, and they all end up delicious.
Yeah.
And
they
you
really
can
do.
borrow from.
And sometimes maybe you don't like the chocolate chip cookie that has walnuts in it. And maybe somebody is really, really weird and put pistachios in their chocolate chip cookies. I don't know.
Hell?
Right?
I'll try it.
I would try it.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. Why not?
Why not?
So can we take a break?
Brief sponsored break. And we're back.
Okay. So we're up to the entrance of Avia into my life, right?
Yeah, because you moved back up to Lakewood.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So COVID happens. I get connected with my biological family.
Oh, yeah.
And my oldest brother is a practicing Satanist, which is
No, seriously?
yeah, seriously.
That's amazing. Because, man, see me in my rabbit holes. I remember this is mid-20s. I had read some of the Satanist Bible, whatever they call their
tenets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of them is, come as a reaper, for thus will you sow. And I actually thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, because how different is that than the field is white, all ready to harvest, thrust in your sickle?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, these are polar opposite. Christian, Satanist. That scripture, that tenet is pretty damn similar.
Yeah, it is.
So anyways, that, again, different recipes.
So the thing, I do not have really judgment on Satanism. I am not a fan.
No. Well, I mean, that's a whole thing because you get into Luciferianism. And I mean, he was what Lucifer was the morning star.
Yes.
Yes. He is might be a light being. He's just so deeply into that thing. There's no balance.
Yeah.
That is hardcore that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're missing a lot. There's a lot. I mean, that's a direction you can choose to go. But yeah, there's a reason it doesn't vibe with a lot of people.
With like Satanism, and I have read a tiny bit about it. With Satanism, it does not focus on the good of all. It focuses on the good of self.
Yes.
And I've had too many experiences in my life where if I'm only focusing on myself, I'm not a happy person.
No. Well,
and I think a lot of people, maybe not everyone, a lot of people believe a similar thing. And that doesn't necessarily mean like that whole concept of putting on your air mask on the airplane before you help your kid.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you absolutely have to prioritize your own needs.
But
you're not the only person in the universe.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, and that goes back to the patriarchy and the feminists, and the opposite isn't each other. It's
partnership.
Mm-hmm. Or you said earlier, is it community or is it self? Yes, it's all of the above. We just need balance. You do need to help yourself. You need to focus. You need to figure out who you are, and you need to be your authentic self.
Uh-huh.
And when you are you confidently, you can show up as your best self, and then give that gift to the world. And it's love God, love each other as you love yourself. You got to love yourself so then you can love everybody else.
Rosie Bones has joined the podcast.
I love Rosie Bones. She's so cute. She's so loving.
She's the best of us.
Yeah, she is. See, she has something to say too.
I hope you got her little snorts.
I hope so. I hope that got picked up.
Did you get to snorts?
Okay, so that had to be kind of a shock because you meet them and your mom's this beautiful Christian with all these gifts and very spiritual.
Right.
And you're like, oh, and this brother of mine.
Right. And really the first person that I connected with the most strongly out of everyone was my brother Eli.
Okay.
And it's a very fascinating setup because he's actually 2 years older than me.
Oh.
But I was the one that was adopted out.
Okay, can we get into that really quick?
Sure.
Because we were like, I don't know half of my biological family.
We've had a conversation about that a couple times.
Yeah,
sure.
So just so people know, like, because we've talked about mom and dad,
Mm-hmm.
and to me, right, I've got my mom and dad, but hey, by the way, there is this other, you got, especially when you get into nurture versus nature,
Yeah.
you have this other side of yourself. So
Mhm.
how and why did you get adopted out? What does that look like?
It's from what I have heard, and I mean, it's all to you now, third-hand information because it's second-hand information to me. From what I understand, Avia and my biological father, William, who I have not met, and I'm not sure that I ever will.
Yep.
I'm still
I'm trying to figure out the same thing.
Yeah, still out to lunch on that one. And they were in a bad way.
Yeah.
And she was very young when she had my brother Elisha. She was 16, and so she was 18 when she had me. My biological father is a couple years older than her, and they just couldn't. They couldn't do it.
No,
They
2 kids at
couldn't do it.
18. Good Lord.
Yeah, that's bonkers.
Yeah. And trying to figure out a relationship and figure out yourself and.
And so they made the decision together, from what I understand, to adopt me out. And my brother Elisha was not quite 2.
Yep.
And so like he's not going to have any memories of me. And so they were just going to carry on as their family unit.
Wow.
Right. And it wasn't like a, hey, I'm getting rid of you because this is too hard. It's just like, this is going to be too hard for you, little girl. And we need to do something better.
So it's a kindness.
Yes, it was a kindness. And Avia has told me many times that she regretted doing it.
Yeah.
The original plan was I was actually going to be adopted by my grandfather
Okay.
and his second wife and raised with my Aunt Lauren, who is only a few months older than me, but we were supposed to be raised together as sisters.
So Jack Nicholson-esque.
I don't understand that reference.
So he was raised by his grandmother, who he thought was his mother, and his sister was his mother. And so other way around. So he found out later in life that his sister was actually his mom.
Oh yeah. I guess so.
'Cause
I don't know what arrangement or what agreement they had about her potential involvement with me.
Yeah.
But that was the original plan, and Avia pulled the plug because she brought Elisha back to Louisiana from South Carolina. I was born in South Carolina.
Okay.
Because I don't like speaking ill of people. At this point in my life, I just don't think that there's good energy in it.
Yeah.
So my biological father is a troubled man.
Yeah.
And is not kind to people. And she was unfortunately on the receiving end of that. And so she got out of South Carolina and went back to Louisiana pregnant with me. And the original plan was for me to be raised by my grandfather and his wife, Mimi, who like on some, this is another crazy connection point in my life. I grew up calling my mom Mimi.
Weird.
And Mimi's name, my step grandma, Mimi's first name is Donna.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
I love those weird, again, serendipitous, just weird.
I know. So my mom, the woman who raised me, is Donna. And I was going to be raised by a Donna in the original plan. And her grandmother name is Mimi. I called my mother Mimi.
Cool. So how did Dennis and Donna end up as your adoptive parents?
Avia had a change of heart, and she really wanted to go back to William and try to make things work because she believed in the sanctity of marriage. And she went back to South Carolina and she pulled the plug on the original plan of adopting me. And then she realized that, okay, crap, like I can't make this work. I can't go back to Louisiana at this point because of the thing that I've done. So she started over in South Carolina, and my mother unfortunately could not have children, and they had set up the summer before. So the summer of 1985, they had set up an adoption for a little girl, and the birth mother in that situation pulled out and changed her mind last minute.
So heartbreaking.
Right. And so, my mom was sharing her grief with her OBGYN, and that OBGYN was the same OBGYN of my birth mother, Avia.
So cool.
Right. And so like she was able, it was a man. This person was able to connect my mother and my birth mother without them meeting and being like, I have someone who is in need. Right. Yeah. And so that's how that unfolded.
What a cool blessing that OBGYN ended up being for everybody involved.
Right. And so here's another really interesting point too about just the connections that we all have to one another, and that like you really are placed exactly where you're meant to be.
Amen.
My mother, Donna, her birthday is February 10th. My birth mother's birthday is February 13th.
Oh.
So they're both Aquarians.
Yes, they are.
Avia was born 3 days after her not actually born 3 days after, but her birthday is 3 days after. My dad, Dennis, his birthday is October 9th. He is a Libra. And William's birthday is 3 days after his.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
The synchronicities and the serendipitousness of life on display.
So it's just like, it's more of that. It's a lot.
That's wild.
And here's another interesting astrology thing. So the Aquarius, right, is the water bearer.
Yeah.
And I am on board on the Cancer Leo cusp. So like I could be categorized as a Cancer. And so like I have a set of twin brothers who are Pisces. And then my brother Elisha is a Scorpio, and we're all water signs, and she is the water bearer. The Aquarian is the water bearer.
Wild.
I know. Isn't that cool?
I'm getting all tingly.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, I love astrology. It's just the bee's knees.
It is.
Anyway, so that's the story there. And that's how I came to be with Dennis and Donna. And so I make this connection with Avia, and I start having more really wonderful experiences with Christians. And I also have this blooming connection with my older brother, Elisha. And he also has the religious trauma thing.
Okay.
And it's, I think there was a connection there around that topic, and it's been a little bit harder now to reform the connection that we once had, but I can't have the same.
Well, because you guys,
him.
essentially ended up taking different reactions to that trauma, right? You've had quite the journey since, and whatever his journey is led him to Satanism,
right?
Which, okay. And like, it'd be interesting to interview him. Like, why?
Right.
Why is that your answer?
Right.
It's interesting.
I wanted to tell Ray this last night, and this is another one of those synchronicity things with biological family. So the girl that was teaching the painting class, Sarah, she made a joke about left-handed people.
Yeah.
And I grew up feeling like I should be a lefty.
Oh.
Right. And so my mother, who's a teacher, and and my father, who's a military officer,
right. There's
just like
order.
Anytime, and it's not like that was some insidious thing, but I remember anytime I'd pick something up, like a pencil with my left hand, they'd be like, "Oh no, baby, you got it in the wrong hand." And no child's handwriting is legible.
No.
But so I can't blame it on that. But I always remember feeling so awkward. And like, do you have a pen up here?
Nope.
Dang it.
I know. I have chapstick.
So here, I'll use straw. Can I use your straw?
Sure.
Is that weird?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, don't mind all my weird.
I hope you don't mind all my weird. I did just wash my hands. So like, look at the way that like I hold this pen.
Yep.
This is how I write.
Okay.
With my right hand. This is the position I have to put my right hand in to be comfortable with holding this pen.
Yep.
With my left.
Oh yeah.
It's completely normal.
Yeah. Are you ambidextrous now?
I would not say that I am, because it's very awkward for me. I can color and paint with my left hand, but that's about it.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't actually write with my left hand.
Yeah.
But
so cool.
So I had this very firm belief as a kid that like I'm supposed to be writing with this hand, and I always wished that I was left-handed. And then I get connected with my biological family, and I have another brother on my father's side also named Will, so he's a Will Jr. And all three of them are left-handed.
Nature versus nurture strikes again.
Right. And so it's wild. But also feeling like I should be left-handed.
Yeah.
Like that connection there, like it's just very interesting.
You knew.
I knew that I was supposed to be. So Avia, my relationship with Scotty is deteriorating. I am in a bad way.
You lose your aunt.
Yeah, I lost my aunt. It was like one thing after another. So I went back home to Virginia, to where my parents live, just for some respite.
Yeah.
I didn't have a job at the time because there was no massage studios open.
Nope.
There was
especially in Washington.
Yeah, there was no yoga studios that were open. And so like I'm going to school to pursue my bachelor's degree online, using the rest of my military benefits to have a little bit of income. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I just want to go and be in a peaceful place where I'm not constantly being ambushed by the worries of the world. And my parents live on a gorgeous piece of property in Virginia, and it is very peaceful. So I went there, and
sounds like a beautiful reset.
It was.
I love the word respite. That is, I mean, what that is.
Yeah, and that's what it was supposed to be. But unfortunately, like I came to the conclusion that I needed to dissolve my relationship with my ex. And I needed to figure out where I was going to go from there. And my Aunt Pam, who's on my prayer roll, my prayer group.
Yeah.
She came out to visit with me. She lives in Georgia. So she drove up from the Atlanta area, and we went on this walk, and she was like, I know that you've been through a lot, but I really, really want you to consider the power of prayer.
Cool.
And I was like, okay, whatever. And she really opened up to me about a lot of very deeply personal things that she has gone through. And I'm going to keep her confidence in that. And it was a really lovely experience. And this walk that we went on, it started pouring down rain. And she quoted some scripture about rain and insight. And I don't remember which scripture it is. I could just ask her. But that experience stuck with me. And I was very, very depressed, unfortunately, just because I didn't feel like I was really going anywhere. And I brought my tarot deck with me. And so like I'm practicing my tarot, I'm practicing yoga, I'm running a ton. I was vegan at the time. Just really trying to figure it all out. I dissolved my relationship with my ex, and somebody else came into my life very, very unexpectedly. It was the landscaper. And this is when I started having shared deja vu.
Oh.
Right. Shared deja vu is a trip, and really, really vivid visions of lightning and it's not like hellfire, but like, because lightning comes from the heavens, right?
Right.
And so like having these very, very strong visions of like, you need to start listening to God again, girl, and trying to figure yourself out. And this connection with this individual, it was a trip because for a lot of different reasons. Oh my gosh. So in the middle of all this, I'm communicating with Avia. And she calls me up one night and she was like, honey, I got to tell you something. I'm like, okay, hit me with it. And she said that she went to like a Saturday night session at her church. And I was like, okay. And like listening to the advice of my Aunt Pam, which at one point my Aunt Laura said, like, you need to take counsel with your Aunt Pam. At some point in my life, she was
that foresight is beautiful.
It really is. She even had like the foresight of being like, you're going to go to Arizona and be educated. And I YTT. And then like I worked on my degree through the University of Arizona.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she at one point was just like, it doesn't matter what religion somebody is, you need to eventually take counsel with your Aunt Pam.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, fine. And she's like, she is of great counsel to me on a regular basis.
Oh, again, I'm getting tingles.
Yeah, it was really, really cool.
So sweet.
So I listened to her words and, just like the power of prayer. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I got to start talking to God again. And here comes Avia.
I was going to say,
here comes Avia. And she goes, I had this really interesting experience and I have to tell you about it. And I was like, okay. So she went to a Saturday night session at her church. And she asked for prayers because she had fallen and broken her elbow.
Ooh,
right. So she stood up. I know, poor thing. So she stood up and she said, can you please send me prayers? Like, I'm really struggling with this elbow break. And another woman stands up, someone that she didn't know, and said, "Do you have a daughter?" And she was like, yeah. And this woman said to Avia, "Take comfort now that the Lord is protecting her from the adversary, and the Lord will bring her into the fullness of who he deems her to be."
What?
Yeah.
Okay. More tingles.
Yeah. And so like, I was just like, okay, I have no idea what that means. But it stuck with me. And this, my parents' landscaper and I started like we had a relationship, like we were together. We lived together for a little while. We started kind of like deciphering all of this, and my tarot cards said like, were pointing me in this direction of this like lifelong person that I had known because he worked for my parents and many interactions. And it really looked like, this is what you're doing. And like, we were on the verge of building a business together. And long story short, that all went down in flames. Yeah. Long story short, that all went down in flames, and I'll spare you all the details of it. But what I want to talk about,
but was not the path, and it made itself apparent.
It was not the path, but it also was the path.
Right. It
at
was
the same time.
Totally.
So we went our separate ways, however hard it rocked me. And for a couple of weeks after we split and I got away from him, he's a very, very negative person, excessively, lots of substance abuse.
Yeah, that's an energy.
Mm-hmm. That's a vibe that I don't need.
No.
I was actually like throwing up black crap from my body.
You were purging.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I mean, it probably wasn't great at the time.
No, it was not a good time. And so like, here I had uprooted my life and then had a rug pulled out from underneath me.
Yeah.
And I was just like swimming in the void.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I had tons of really crazy spiritual experiences, like lots and lots of visions, just about like the direction that everything was going. And like, I would pull out my cards and like the cards would tell me that like, he's not being honest with you about who he is. Like, he's deceiving you. Like, there's other people that are being manipulated in this situation. And I would confront him about it and he would lie and be like, "No, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine." So like, putting faith in that and like, and still praying and trying to be in touch with God.
Taking advice from Aunt Pam, from your mom, having this experience with Avia.
All of these different things.
All of this is coalescing into
converging.
Yeah.
So
visions.
I finished my semester online while I'm in Virginia, and I'm just like, I just need to go home. So
you thought you had gone home. I mean, you did go home in a sense, but you needed to go.
I needed to go back to Washington.
Yeah.
So I hightailed it out of there and I go back to Washington. I am settling into my life. I was driving up in that giant snow blizzard of 2021.
Oh, no.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Great time. You had perfect timing.
On the side of the road underneath my car, putting on
chains.
Mm-hmm. Going through the different passes of Oregon.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's where I was.
That's pleasant.
So I settled back in. And Scotty, because he was a dear friend to me, opened up his house and I was renting a room from him. And I
was that hard?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right.
Not at all. And it's a very odd
because that
situation.
relationship had morphed into being able to do something beautiful like that.
Right, for sure. Yeah, and if he called me and needed anything, I would be there in whatever capacity I could be, like no matter what. He's just that type of
deep
person
appreciation.
Yes, a very deep appreciation. We actually had a reading done together that were twin flames.
Oh, yeah.
And that like, and the thing about twin flames is like, you're not actually supposed to be with your twin flame.
Yeah.
No. And like, if you get into the astrology behind it, it was very, very interesting. And I'm talking about Scotty, by the way. It was very, very interesting because he's born on the Taurus Gemini cusp and I'm born on the Cancer Leo cusp. And so in our union is the presence of all four elements of the astrology.
Cool.
Yeah. And so the whole thing about twin flames is like, this is not the person. It's not like a romantic or a sexual relationship.
Right.
It is a universal relationship that you have with this person, a connection that cannot be broken with this person. And once you have settled into like this flow between the two of you, that is more of a friendship and a more of a coming together to share your experiences and to grow through that. Yeah. That's what a true twin flame is.
Beautifully
so anything that you see about twin flames being like the most epic, romantic, whatever, like, no, that's not what that is.
Yeah.
That's not what that is at all. But anyway, I went on my own rabbit hole. So
I love it.
What was I talking
so
about?
move in. You rent a room from him.
Yes, I'm renting a room from him. And a good friend of mine is just like, girl, like you should just get on a dating app. And I'm like, no. And so I had this massage client and we were joking and she was like, girl, you should just get on a dating app.
And there it is again in your awareness.
And I was like, ugh, no. And she goes, how about this? Because she was the second to last client. She said, and I had my last hour that was supposed to be like my last booked hour was open at Massage Envy. And she said, if your last hour is still unbooked by the time I'm finished, you have to get on a dating app. And I was just like, you're on, bitch. Right. So she ended up being right. And I had to get on a dating app and I got on Hinge. And I just, for a couple of months, I just had a good time.
Why not?
Met some people to hang out with.
Go
mostly
out,
took a bunch of screenshots.
Especially with all the crazy COVID stuff.
Yeah, mostly took a bunch of screenshots of really obscure profiles and sent them to my friends and made fun of them.
And everybody laughed.
Yeah, it was a good
There's
time.
some bad ones out there. That's I'm convinced that's the majority of the fun of being on a dating app.
Right. And so this is essentially where I met my husband.
Yes.
Right. So
and we're experiencing everything that he's going through, Ray and I, while this is going on, right? Which it's so funny where do the stories start to converge? How do our stories start to converge?
Right. So this is where I meet my husband. But before I met him, I was involved with an artist, and he's phenomenal artist and has unfortunately disappeared from social media, so I can no longer follow his art anymore. I have no idea where he went.
Oh no.
I'm just send some vibes out to that person. I hope he's okay. And I had a bunch of like coincidental deja vu types of things again. And I'm like, all right, like this is gearing up. And one night I'm in my bed and like I wake up and I shoot forward and all of a sudden I see this gold flash of light go across my room. And I was just like, what is happening? So I had this altar that I had actually built myself out of a piece of walnut and like inlaid turquoise into it and like sanded it and glazed it. And yeah, you've probably seen it. It's in my house. It's where I practice my tarot cards, and I have a picture of Christ on it. And I've got like all of my crystals and stuff and all of my good vibe things.
Next time I'm over, I'm going to have to pay more attention to it.
Yeah, you should. It's really cool.
It sounds beautiful.
It's gorgeous. And so I have this flash of light, and like I had this dream right before I woke up, and Christ appeared to me and said, if you keep going down the path that you're on, you're just going to keep being unhappy.
Lessons will be repeated until learned.
Like you are not going to progress. And so like I get down in front of my altar and I'm shook. Like I'm just like, what is going on? I get down in front of my altar and I was just like, I'm just going to start praying. So I started praying and I put myself into a deep meditation to this point where I am kind of like floating suspended in a galaxy.
Cool.
It was beautiful. And this door appears to me, and it's made out of granite. And it's got like all of these different swirling, beautifully colored patterns. But this door, like it doesn't have like a door with like a knob. It's just kind of like this black space in between it. And like all of a sudden, like this door just starts moving closer and closer and closer to me. And I'm just like, I don't know about that. And these 4 angels appear behind me and start pushing me to this door. Right. And as I'm getting closer to the door, can I have your hand?
Yeah.
A hand reaches out, grabs me,
Oh.
and pulls me through.
What? What?
3 days later, I met my husband.
Okay, that's a temple reference. By the way, for those who have no idea what just happened.
Had no clue about that, by the way.
That is crazy.
3 days later, I connected with my husband, and a couple of days after that, we met in person for the first time. And we proceed with our relationship. And here's a funny thing about that. I had intentionally set up my filters on Hinge to weed out all religious people.
How do you get around that?
I don't know. God.
Yes.
That's how he got around that.
That is wild.
It is. And so I remember talking to him, and I'm like, I go back and I look at his profile, and they were almost like carbon copies of each other, just different words. And I'm just like, okay, so what are some things that I can talk about? Like, there's pictures here. Like, we're both into outdoorsy stuff. We both appreciate communication. He's been to Havasu Falls. I really want to go. He loves Zion. I love Zion. And so, like, I'm trying to like, what are some talking points?
Did you message him first?
I did, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I did.
All
I did.
right.
I was just like, oh my gosh, he's so cute.
He is cute.
He's so cute. And he's got the best smile. That smile kills me.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Absolutely kills me. And so, I liked him, and then he messaged me back, and we were having a video chat, and I looked at his profile, and it said Christian, and I was just like, not having it. But we hit it off so well that I was just like, you just have to give this guy a shot.
Yeah.
And so we get together and we proceed with our relationship, and he finds out that like I'm a deeply spiritual person, and that's something that he's always really, really wanted. And his side of the story, and you're going to have to actually just talk to him.
Yeah. Oh, I'm having trading on for sure.
Something along the lines of he was in a lot of prayer and had been searching on Christian dating sites and LDS dating sites to find somebody else. And he was very strongly impressioned or prompted to get off of those and look elsewhere. And so I found him, right?
Incredible.
And we built this, we were best friends from that day on, and we have spent very little time apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
well, and it was pretty amazing because, again, knowing what had happened in his life, all of a sudden you're there, and then you guys are getting married. I mean, it just seemed like bam.
Right. And so he had confided in me that he had received a blessing from a family friend that had very similar wordage to the little prophecy that my birth mother had given to me, that like God is preparing someone for you and intends to bring her into the fullness of his vision. Yeah. And I was just like, what? I was just like, okay, whatever.
Another serendipitous,
right. Another
synchronistic.
synchronistic type of thing going on. And then I share with him the story that I just shared with you about my door in the galaxy. And he burst into tears.
Oh, that is
burst
so
into
sweet.
tears. And he said, please, will you please talk to the missionaries? And I was like, why? Like, why on earth would I talk to a couple of 19-year-olds about this?
Right. I'm way past that spiritual piece.
Right. And he was just like, you just have to do it. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so we're a couple months in. I'm just so in love. And like, I knew that he and I were supposed to be together, like that this was just, he was my person. He was my best friend. He was everything that I had needed, had wanted, in a partner. And, I had another vision or another dream that he and I were standing in a room together, and he was wearing a gray suit in it. But I was essentially like in a wedding dress, and we were in a circular room, floor to ceiling, that was covered with mirrors. And we could see each other's reflections all over the place into infinity.
Into infinity.
Into infinity. And so I told him that. I was like, you won't believe this wild dream that I had. And he was like, please talk to the missionaries. And I'm just like, okay, fine, whatever. And then I got my hands on a book called More Than a Tattooed Mormon, written by Al Caraway.
Yeah.
And she's a huge social media influencer. And it resonated with me very, very strongly. And so Traded and I started having more conversations about the spiritual things, the things that my beliefs that I had arrived to on my own, were very much in line with the LDS church. And so I had been like kind of looking back into Catholicism because I had that super positive experience, but I still wasn't like completely open to it. So like all of these things really just started falling into place. And that's like where I'm at now. And I really have blossomed almost effortlessly like through this community. And like, I'm so freaking happy.
Well, and for the last, I swear, half an hour, the number of shivers and just like my whole body feels like it's vibrating. It's so wild. Because those are things that the dream with the granite door, the mirrors in a circular room.
Right.
I mean, all those things are.
And I think the majority of temples are made out of granite, right? At least the ones in.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that component.
Right. At least the ones in Utah are.
Yeah.
Because it's a readily available resource.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like those are things that especially please talk to the missionaries. Like you can't make that up if you, especially not knowing that those are very specific components of. And it was always interesting to me because for us, we were leaving the faith and needing to go add this other metaphysical spiritual component to our understanding of things. You're coming from that world and adding the LDS component.
Yeah.
And I always tell everybody, I'm not antagonistic to Mormonism in any way. There's so much good there. We're on a different part of that journey for us.
Right.
In fact, at your temple ceiling, and I think Rachel asked your permission because we had a feeling we were on our way out. But one of my components is any space to me that has been set apart to worship God is holy space.
Yeah.
And so I don't care what church, what temple, what it is. That is a space set apart from this world where you get to be more intimately in communication with the divine. And so for us to be able to go to the temple, experience your ceiling to Traden in that room with infinite mirrors.
Yeah.
And then to go to the celestial room and commune with God and get it's your time to walk away and you might come back.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Yeah, it is.
And then for you like, it felt like this, but those are all such beautiful moments.
It's more like this.
Yeah, that's very well said.
Yeah, or very well motioned.
Very well motioned. and I think there's a lot of examples. I had a gentleman named Mike on a few episodes ago, and I told him he might be the most authentically Christian person that I know. Because you do have the, like the hardcore and the
like the more judgmental side.
And that's what it is. It's the judgmental piece. And to me, there's like letter of the law, spirit of the law. And I am way more in tune with the spirit of the law side of things. And your husband to a T is that.
Right.
Right. I mean, we were talking about his clothing when he goes into church, right? Like he is spirit of he lives it. And he is, to me, he is what an LDS man is supposed to be.
Yeah. It's more important to be there.
Yes.
It is. If you get in the door, it doesn't matter if you're in jeans and a t-shirt or your pajamas. It's the whole point is just get there.
Just get there.
And get there.
That ward, that congregation is very much that too. Because again, right, you can go anywhere in the world and it's the same every Sunday. But I've been in congregation in wards where it's like, no, because it is letter of the law in here. And so you went back home with all these promptings, all these other visions, all the things that led you to that point. You don't have that last hour scheduled. You get on the dating app. He gets prompted to move over to a non-Christian dating app.
Right.
I mean, like, how do you align those stars?
I don't know, but I will tell you the thing is that Heavenly Father knows that my weakness is men.
Okay, wait. What
Just like, you like boys, here you go. I'm going to make sure I get you. Oh my God, this is the only way this is going to happen.
Boys. Well, it's kind of hard not to have a weakness around trade, and he's kind of charming. He is dreamy.
But I think I have, over the course of my life, had very deep connections with the men that I've had relationships with.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot about myself.
Yeah.
Through those things. And like, that's what being in relation to people is. You're supposed to learn and grow. And I've heard so many people call me codependent because I've had a lot of partners. People are like, you're so codependent. You just go from one thing to the next thing. And I'm just like, no, I feel like I'm more interdependent.
Yeah.
Like I am like really the best version of myself when I have somebody that I can love and dote on.
Well, and it
that
also
I can
feels,
learn and grow with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and it feels like it's been
the opposite is partnership.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very much like a thing that I believe in.
Well, and almost like a refiner's fire. Like, yes, you're attracted to this partner, but there is learning and growth and figuring you out.
Yeah.
And then there's okay, I still love and appreciate this person, but this isn't going to allow me to be me. So yeah, there is, I want a partner, but okay, this isn't him. Okay, there's something cool here. I learned this about myself and about relationship, but it's not here. And so it has been because to me, codependency is somebody that lets you stay in that space and you feed off of each other. It's almost like trauma bonding. You stay in that space.
Right. Well, you don't really have your own separate identity with codependency.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I wouldn't term what you do as codependency at
all.
all.
No, not at all. I really love interdependence and being in a relation with people.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to go it alone ever.
No.
Yeah. Who wants to do that? That sounds lame.
Yeah. Well, and why are we on a planet with 8 billion other people to just hang out isolated and not do life with other people? That doesn't make any sense.
No, not a bit of sense at all.
No.
So yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily, well, I guess the only word that's coming to mind is like elevated, but I have elevated myself in this community, in my LDS community where I am a teacher. And so
are you Relief Society?
Cool.
That's the women's group, by the way, for those that don't know what that means.
And I am a Relief Society teacher. And so like I believe very, very strongly that because of my worldly experiences, because of my acceptance of like all walks of life, and this belief that like, hey guys, like it doesn't matter if you're Hindu or Muslim. And I do believe that there are absolutely components of the LDS church that are more right in other ways, but that's just my own personal perspective. Right. But like, it doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter if you have none. Like if you are communing with something that is divine, whether it's Odin or Thor or Freya or God or Christ or whoever, like it is. The problem with religion is not God itself. It is man and the interpretation of man.
So well said.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. So our quarrel isn't ever with God or the divine or the universe. Our quarrel is never with the universe is always on your side.
Yep.
100% of the time. God always loves his children.
Yes.
100% of the time.
Yes.
The quarrel is with man.
Yes.
And the quarrel is with the judgment of man. And this is another conversation that I had with my Aunt Pam very recently. I was following this Instagram influencer, and he has a lot of really great Christian content. But he came out and said that Mormons are not Christians and that we are very, very led astray and essentially reproducing the content of the adversary. And I was just like, oh man, like that really stinks. And I got prompted because I was with my Aunt Pam and I was like, I should talk to her about this. Like, what is it that she thinks? Like, I want to know. And I was in a space where I was just like, I'm not going to be offended if she agrees that like Mormons aren't Christians.
Right.
And so she said to me, she was like, no, like you can be of any bent, but as long as you follow Christ, you're a Christian.
Yeah.
Man, where was I going with that? I don't remember.
Well, but that is because it is man that ends up corrupting.
Oh, right.
It's not
man.
God. It's
right.
It's
okay.
man.
So we're on to the man thing.
Yeah.
And so, judgment. I had this conversation with her too. And I was like, my feelings were a little bit hurt from this influencer that I saw, because like, I love my religion so much and I just feel so whole inside of it. And I couldn't imagine life without it from this point forward. And I said something like, I really wish that like, I try not to judge others because it's not my job.
No.
Like judgment, and she finished my sentence for me. Judgment splits the soul.
Oh.
Judgment splits the soul. And that is why there are so many phrases around like the only thing that can judge me is God.
Yeah.
Because that is God's job.
Yep.
To hold you in perfect justice and perfect mercy.
Yeah.
And to give you the final judgment. And it is not a concept that should be cast down onto man.
No.
Because then the whole point and concept of Christ is lost, right?
So well said.
And so judgment is not for man at all. And so like when I say like I truly do not judge you, I genuinely mean it. Like I'm going to do my best to accept you where you're at, because that is what Christ would do.
Well, and I come back, this is my other every episode. The 2 great commandments are love God and love each other as yourself, right?
Right.
So those are, where is there space for judgment in there?
There's none.
There is none.
There is a huge difference between judgment and critical thinking.
Right. And if God is love, and that to me, and I said that to one of my Christian friends, and he said, no, God's not love. Like, I don't think you've read your Bible, buddy. But again, I can't make that judgment, right? He gets to have whatever relationship he wants with God.
You could discern that he has not had a lot of positive experiences that like encompass God for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And he loves his children. And so everything, to me, everything points back to God, to a creator, to something that lovingly crafted this universe for me and for us. And so why wouldn't he want to have a relationship with us? And your life experience is going to guide you to that. Yeah. And everybody gets to have their own life experience. And that's part of the beauty of this whole thing is everybody's experience is different. And how about we should compare notes instead of saying, nah, your book sucks.
Right. There was Gordon B. Hinckley went on, who was the guy on CNN that used to have a late night?
The old guy.
Yes.
Larry King.
I'm sorry.
That was a great interview.
It was. And it really resonated with me, where he said, Larry King asks Gordon B. Hinckley, do you judge other denominations of Christianity? And he said, no. I want to come up to you and listen to what you have to say, and I want to add to it. And so then from this point on, like we kind of get into is the Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, and Pearl of Great Price in violation of God's law of do not add any more works of scripture on after this one. Right. Right.
Which is said that's at the end of Old Testament and New Testament. And so we shouldn't even have the New Testament if you wanted to get that technical about things.
Technically. So it's in Deuteronomy where it mentions the part of you will not add more onto my word. And that's Old Testament. And then in the book of Revelation, it's literally third to last scripture in the book of Revelation.
Yep.
And so this is what I say is that it is not in addition to the Bible. It is a complete separate work and a complete separate testament of the existence of Christ. Yep. Which is not in addition to the Bible. It is in support of. We go around, archaeologists go around and they find all kinds of evidence of ancient civilizations that further prove that they existed. Right. So why should we not look at the Book of Mormon that way and the Doctrine and Covenants and the Pearl of Great Price?
Well, and
why not?
Again, a loving God. Why wouldn't he speak to his children all around the world? Why in the heck do you think it's just centered around the Mediterranean? That makes zero sense. Zero sense. And we like to think, and you don't think that God gets to talk to us whenever he wants? How dare you? Mm-hmm. And what's the other point in there? I lost it, but
That's okay.
I had another
I've got
point.
some more for you. So Aunt Pam, awesome Aunt Pam, she and I continuing our conversation, and she said, primarily the thing that concerns me is that members of the LDS church get caught up in following Joseph Smith.
Okay.
And that and I do think that there is a degree of that.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Why not? Like, he translated the Book of Mormon. And I'm still quite a noob to all of these things, but the Doctrine and Covenants was based on his experiences and conversations with
Right.
God.
Those are modern day scriptures, right? He's
Right.
getting that and writing it down in the 1800s. And so, yeah,
Right.
it's the most, there's other faiths that have something similar, but yeah, I mean, it's the most modern written scripture.
Right. So as long as you aren't worshiping Joseph Smith, like, there's really not like a giant issue, at least in my mind. And as long as like you're not like, you can't worship a man.
No. Well, and this is where like the minutia of it all gets really funny to me, where even within the Protestant faiths, it's like, yeah, well, we at least all agree on the basics, which is why Catholics and Mormons and some of these other ones aren't Christians, because at least we understand what the Trinity is. But then you have, what's a good example? You were just saying it. I need some more creatine or something in my water because my brain keeps going bleh.
Bleh. I don't know how to help you.
Worshiping Joseph Smith. I was reading something on Twitter about there's a term called PMO, physically and mentally out. And so he's a member, but is mentally out. And he goes, yeah, we went to church and, it was Easter Sunday and we sang Praise to the Man and we had a talk on Joseph Smith and all this other stuff. It's Easter Sunday. We should be talking about Jesus.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And like, so there's those sorts of examples where I go, okay, yeah, like I could see where you would see that and interpret it as, we're worshiping Joseph Smith or doing something with Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith, just like all the prophets, yes, they're men. And we study their stories for a reason, right? Like, is Moses not talked about? Do we not, like, there was a lot of really cool, important lessons. There's a lot of really cool, important lessons with Joseph Smith. There's a lot of cool stuff there. That doesn't mean that you're worshiping that person, but we have these people for their examples. And so, the whole, you worship this, no, that's not how that works.
Right.
The Savior is Jesus. That is the focal point, the cornerstone of the LDS faith. Yeah. Right? The keystone, actually. Cornerstone? Keystone? Cornerstone.
It
could be both.
Keystone. Yeah, why not?
And so I think there's just a fundamental misunderstanding there with people. And it kind of goes back to the tribalism thing, right? It's scary to look outside of your tribe. But and this is where I come in and say, exposure is a hell of a drug. Yeah. Just be curious, ask questions, don't come in with prejudgments. Yeah. And I remember I went into a Baptist church, and they had their missionary board. And then they had this like little, one of their missionaries was in Salt Lake. And it was, I think the blurb was more or less teaching our brothers in Christ the wrongness of Mormonism or something like that. And I'm like, if you go in with that attitude, good luck. As soon as you think I'm right, you're wrong, let me show you how wrong you are. What are you doing?
Right. You absolutely have to have a perspective of like, hey, I learned some stuff on my journey and I really love it and appreciate it. And I want to know the things about your journey that you love and appreciate it. Yeah. And maybe I can learn something from you.
And maybe I can offer something that adds to your understanding or adds to your perspective, right? It's the Gordon B. Hinckley thing with Larry King. I love and appreciate all. I'm going to offer you some more. You can take it or leave it, but here's the perspective that I get to add to you.
Yeah. And I think that's really, and that's why I love community so much. And that's where I'm at right now.
That's so cool.
Yeah. But I haven't dropped any of the things that I've learned along the way.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and that's
not even a little bit.
That's the piece I love. Well, it goes back. What was the title of the book?
More Than a Tattooed Mormon.
More Than a Tattooed Mormon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause that's certainly, I get right. Like, oh, temple, or your body is a temple. You aren't supposed to desecrate it. You just went and got a tattoo with my wife yesterday.
I did. It was great.
And one of the first people that commented on it on Facebook is somebody from
my ward.
From our ward. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, this is beautiful. It's such beautiful exposure. And what are those conversations going to be like? It's going to be magnificent, because especially when you get to know somebody, like that, to me, that's when judgment should start to dissipate, because you are curious. You are getting to learn about them. You are getting to learn about their background. And I love this person, and I see a beautiful soul, and they are doing life differently than me. I would never in a million years get a tattoo, because I've been taught that it's wrong.
Right.
But I love and appreciate that person, and they just got another one. What do they know, or why do they do life that way?
Right.
Maybe I should just ask. Be curious.
Be curious.
Yeah.
That's really cool. It's like being in this position as a Relief Society teacher and actually feeling like I'm getting my stage to be right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm big Leo energy.
Yeah.
I'm getting my stage, and I don't think that I'm manipulating people. I wouldn't say that at all. But here is someone who's a convert, right, to the church, and like being able, I feel like it's a really good platform for me to start changing the culture.
Yes.
Person by person, day by day, like action by action. And there was somebody on Easter Sunday who got up at the podium and essentially, like, they were referencing, you know them too, and I'll tell you who this person is later. And they were referencing like for the strength of youth. It's like, is that the guide for like the kids or something?
Yeah, when I was a teenager, that's what we used as part of the program, part of the youth program. Strength of the Youth has like standards in there of, this is, you should do this with your studies. You should do this with your physical activities. You should do this. So it's kind of a guidebook, and I think it's morphed over time.
Right. And so this person wasn't doing any bashing at all, but I could see the reservation and the judgment in their mannerisms and in the vibration that they were putting out about being more accepting of that member that has a tattoo, or being more accepting of that girl that maybe has 2 piercings in her ears or more.
The piercing thing is wild.
It is wild. It's really wild. And for anybody who's listening, I have 00 gauges and 9 other piercings in my ears alone. So
yeah, Rachel was really excited in her youth to get a second piercing. And I think that's when the prophet came out and said 1 piercing. And she was kind of upset about it.
Yeah. There's been more amendments to that where you no longer have to wear, like, the youth no longer have to wear like super duper modest clothing. And my friend in my ward, the same one that made the comment on the post about the tattoos, her daughter for prom wore a really beautiful, lovely, like ruby red spaghetti strap prom dress.
Yeah.
And so like there are things in the culture that are changing.
Yeah.
And modesty isn't just the clothing that you wear, it's your mindset.
Yes.
Right. So like, take that and do what you want with that.
Well, and there's so many rabbit holes on so many different things, because that's right. Like, well, if you dress like that, then you get what you deserve. Okay. What the fuck is the matter with your brain?
Yeah. Rape culture is not something I want to talk about.
No. Right. Well, yeah, exactly. No. What? And
that's
modesty is so much. I mean, it's, yeah, that's a whole thing.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, and that was our invitation when we moved here, because we did go to our ward for a little bit. And I can't remember. I think it was the Relief Society president. She said to Rachel, well, we need those, for lack of a better term, outside influences. Like, that's good in the culture. It's good to be exposed.
There's a lot of archaic mindsets, I think, inside of the culture still. And I have, like, she and I have gotten very, very close. And she's adopted her boys from another country, but their culture is deeply, like, their heritage is deeply rooted in Puerto Rican and Hispanic, Latina heritage, Latino, Latinx heritage. And there's a concept of that where Catholicism comes back into play.
Oh, yeah.
Right from the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so,
and
like, these these boys are drawn naturally to wearing like giant Catholic looking crucifixes. And my friend,
In that household, that probably doesn't fly.
oh no, it does not fly. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I wish I could harness 10% of her energy because I would be a better person if I could.
I think
just
the world
10%.
of them.
Yeah. And so the culture is changing, and I've seen little changes just in this example here where one of the boys was wearing their crucifix, and the other one of the boys had a new haircut, and he actually like rode his hair and like had the side shaved, and it was like back up in like a little like kind of like a nice neat little man bun, and like his confidence had changed
Cool.
since the last time that I saw him. And like I know that she was very, very hesitant about letting him have a different hairstyle to embrace his culture because like bottom line, my friend is just scared of change and things that are different, but that's the entire reason why those boys are in her life.
Well, and that one's beautiful because they raised their biological children and very much in their world and their way. And that worked out really well.
Yeah, for the most part it did.
And then you adopt in these boys from a different culture.
Right.
And that is such an amazing opportunity for everybody in that family because it is exposure.
It is exposure. They have a lot of turmoil in the household just because has been a very big adjustment. And there's nobody that's completely innocent in that particular situation. But
but there's learning and there's opportunity and there's
totally
challenge.
Is.
And that's great.
But I've been very strongly prompted to make sure that I am giving people compliments. And so I made a point of tracking down this boy on Easter Sunday and telling him that I thought his hair looked really nice.
Cool.
Right? Because like, it's very important to say the nice thing and do the nice thing and do the kind thing. Even if I'm giving someone a compliment on their shoes standing behind me in
there's
the grocery
always
line.
something to appreciate about another person.
Absolutely. And I think if we have more of this, like it'll cause ripples. And for me, remembering that like there's this phrase that's been coming across my life a lot that says Jesus loves the person you hate.
Oh, that's a good,
That's a good one.
I like that.
And so it's just like, oof, yeah. Like that really means that like every single person has something to offer.
Yes.
Like even if you don't like them.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just like say the nice thing, do the nice thing.
Yes.
Say the kind thing, do the kind thing.
And that's all we're called upon to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that. Oh, and I part of that reflection, there's a reason why you attract the people that you do into your life. And for Ray and I, and maybe I shouldn't speak for her, but you are just you are such a light. It is such a pleasure to know you and to get to interact with you and to call you friend and have you in our lives. And it's so fun. It's so fun to witness you.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really do.
Well, and so on that note, because we just hit the 3:30 mark, and
how long have we been jabbering at each other?
Take out 5 minutes for a break, and so just almost 3.5 hours.
Holy crap!
And so I will put a hard stop at 4 hours because then all of a sudden this recording gets all sorts of janky to try and post. So considering a half an hour.
Okay.
And it could be 1 minute, it could be half an hour.
Okay.
I mean, on the way here, you had to stop your audiobook because it's like, what are we going to talk about? There's so many different things. And we could go on. We might need like 4 more episodes.
That's okay.
But I love that we touched on the spiritual aspect because I think that plays such a huge role in what makes a person a person.
It does. And if we're going to touch on the spiritual aspect, you also have to touch on the psychological aspect too, because spirituality and psychology are inevitably interwoven.
Yes.
And this goes back into like the no judgment thing, right? Like you cannot put down a person's spirituality because that is the core of who they are. Even if they have a lack of spirituality, the thing that they believe, the thing that they reconcile God to be or God not to be makes up like the core of a person.
Well, yeah.
You have to respect that because that's completely tied to everything else in the human body.
Well, right. And it answers the why question.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I here? Why was I created? What comes after this? Right? Like it gets to the core of all the question that we all ask is, what the fuck is this all about?
Exactly.
And so, yeah, exactly what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
So on the cycle, where do you want to go with that?
It's just, I feel like it's just so important to be respectful of other people's views, even if they are in a very like stark contrast to the thing that you believe.
Yeah.
Because like rule number one of humanity, whether it's God's rule or the human rule number one of humanity is do no harm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Do no harm. So how am I going to do no harm to this person that believes something completely different than what I do?
Yeah.
I hold space for that person.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll get a win and I'll learn something new at the same time.
Totally.
Right? So like I really can't stand it when I hear people bashing other religions and other spiritual forms of thought, because like one not only hurts my feelings, but it's just like you're not doing the thing that and this is my own judgment, right? Like you're not doing the thing that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So it is harder for me to not judge people who are judging others. That's where I get stuck in the thing. Like that's my personal, definitely a flaw that I have. But I do believe that it's very, very important to be respectful of the atheist and the Hindu, and the Muslim and the Jew and the pagan and
all of it.
Have you ever looked into pantheism?
I can assume, but not, I mean, maybe.
Pantheism is really cool because it is that belief that the universe exists inside of everything.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So God exists inside of everything, which it does. If you want to come
as
down
within,
to
as
it.
without, as above,
as above, so below.
Yeah. Well, and that's cool when you look at an atom and you look at the universe and you go, oh, it's the same bloody thing.
Yeah, it is. It's all
that's
the
pretty
same.
cool.
So it on like with that basic belief of pantheism, like if God exists in everything and we're supposed to respect and love him at all costs, then we have to respect and love others at all costs.
Well, and that goes back to one of my favorite quotes. Alan Watts said, we're all just God playing hide and go seek from ourselves.
I've never heard that.
Oh my gosh. Well, but it is that, right? God is in everything.
Mm-hmm.
And at a minimum, God created everything.
Yeah.
Right. Which an artist puts themselves into their art.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, why wouldn't you love and respect everything? One of my favorites, this was from my scout / young men's leader, is everything testifies there's a God. Like, yep, sure does.
For sure. I mean, and that's like, we also need to consider like, you can still be respectful of someone and not have them in their life. Like we're not calling for forms of abuse here. Like,
well, and that's why I like the judge not lest ye be judged. And I like the add-on of judge not lest ye be judged unrighteously. Mm-hmm. And you get to go, that's not vibing with me. You're going to stay over in that corner.
That does not mean you get to be a dick.
Yeah.
You don't get
that's
to be a dick.
Personal boundary, self-love. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's totally okay for you to decline the invitation given by someone that you don't vibe with. Just like, no, I'm okay. Like I don't have an interest in doing that. But what you are required to do is to wrap that person up in love and light. And send them on their way.
Yeah. I always like that. No is a complete sentence.
Oh, it is.
Right.
It is.
Yeah. You want to do this? No. Well, why not? No.
Yeah. I get into like little bits of conflict with my husband because he's very analytical.
Yes.
And he'll ask me a question about something. And I mean, and I am too. And I'm not going to lie. I do kind of just stick it to him when I'm doing this, but I will give him an answer. He does. I will give him an answer and he'll be like, but why? And then I'll say the same thing. And he goes, no, but why? And like, I will continue to repeat the answer. And he was like, why won't you give me more? And I was like, because that's
I don't
my
have
answer.
To.
Like that is my answer. And you need to drop it.
Oh, that's so good.
It's really funny.
I can see that putting him into a tizzy.
He's just,
oh, because he so badly does want to understand.
He does. One thing that I would love to be able to teach my husband is that he doesn't have to understand something for
Yeah.
it to be.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to understand something.
Well, and that's part of why you're in his life. That's definitely a piece of that.
He is like, okay, so the D&D thing of like chaotic good.
Oh yeah.
Where do I fall on that in your opinion?
Chaotic good might be it.
Yes, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, I always try and figure out, am I chaotic good or chaotic neutral? Because I'm one of the two.
Yeah, chaotic neutral probably.
Yeah, I'm probably chaotic neutral.
Chaotic
Because
neutral.
I see the beauty, like the yin and yang symbol. I am very much, you can't have the light without the dark. You can't have, you have to have contrast to appreciate. You want good, you wouldn't even understand the concept of good without bad.
Right.
You need the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You need both.
Right.
So chaotic neutral is probably me.
Yeah, probably.
I love good and I want the good, but I appreciate the bad.
Embraciate. New word. Embraciate.
Embraciate. That's a great word.
Embrace and ingratiate together. You have to embrace the shadow with the light.
Yep.
I would say my husband is probably, what is it, lawful good?
Yeah.
Yeah, like to the point. If you have too much yang, then that gets out of balance.
Yes.
Right. And so like lawful good, like you might think of like a police officer. I don't know, maybe like using excessive force to control a situation because he's trying to do his job. Not that my husband uses excessive force. That was probably a really bad analogy. That was the first thing that popped up in my mind. Yeah, so it's just like he's lawful good. There is a set of rules and a set of discipline and understanding that needs to be had.
But he's come to that with logic, but he also has such a deep spiritual sense there, which is why I refer to him having more of a living the spirit of the law. But it's because he very much does understand the letter of the law too.
Yeah, he does understand the letter of the law.
Yeah,
for sure.
I can't wait to have him on. That's going to be a fascinating conversation.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah. Okay, so what I have a last question that I ask everybody. So I'm not going to go there yet because my penultimate question. What are we missing that you want to make sure that you get out there about you?
About me?
Yeah, about you, because the last one is a broader out there question.
Big Leo energy. No, just kidding.
Big Leo.
I'm just gonna keep saying that. No,
Leo. Oh, in this house, Leo, and
Leo.
A couple more houses, Leo. And did I mention Leo?
Cats.
So I'll give you
Give me an
the preview
example.
of the last question.
Yeah.
It is, if you had a megaphone that could reach everybody in the world, what would your message to them be?
Stop being a dick. But that's like all wrapped up in the like stop judging people.
Yeah.
Like walk a mile in their shoes, have empathy.
Most people are like, wow, that's a really good question. And then there's like a silence. What, Chelsea, what? Stop being a dick. Leo energy. Let's go.
Get it. No, I'm really glad that you gave me that platform to be comedic. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
If I really had a megaphone, it is a good question. So you asked me what I want the world to know about me.
Yeah,
or what is
because
the
I think
message that I want to.
Yeah,
deliver?
because if I don't give the last question, a lot of times people will say, like they feel like that's when they need to kind of give their last. World, this is my last imparting wisdom, and that really is my last question. And so I ask, hey, what did we miss about you? They answer my last question, and then I'm like, well, here's my question, but you already answered it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. So is there anything that you wanted to make sure what did we not capture in the Chelsea picture?
In the Chelsea picture?
Yeah. That needed to be stated or expressed.
I think it was pretty well encapsulated.
Yeah,
honestly,
we captured you pretty well.
It was very well enveloped or enveloped. I like to say enveloped.
Enveloped. Yeah.
Yeah. Enveloped is just a funny way of saying the word.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think like probably this is that, and I know we touched on it a little bit, like Christ did his job. None of us are going to hell.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Like, that is what I want the world to understand. Like there will be none of us are going to be denied the glories of heaven.
Yeah.
None of us. It's not set up that way. And then you can kind of like start deviating and rabbit holing into the whole like free will versus destiny type of thing. But that's my bottom line message, is that like none of us are going to hell. None of us are going to be denied the glories of God.
Yeah.
Because like, what is it in the church? Like, you have the opportunity to accept the gospel on the other side of the veil through temple work and stuff like that. Right. So I think that that's really, really important. Like, we're all going to the good place.
I love that. Well, and I love that because I'm a deep studier. I love history. I love the religions. I love all of it. And bringing it back to the Joseph Smith piece, if you read, like, deep dive in that, he was way more of a universalist.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going to be saved.
Yeah.
Then I think over the decades that has become more of a, well, are you going celestial, telestial, terrestrial, outer darkness? Are you right? All of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we are focusing on the wrong things. Christ did his job.
He did his job.
And,
for sure.
And I love that that's within Christianity. Christ did his job. In spiritualism, that Christ energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, whatever it is, roll all of it up. Does God love his children?
Yes.
So what, and because one of my fundamental problems, I think, with most mainstream Christianity is, you're telling me that God created everything, knows everything from the beginning to the end, Alpha and Omega, all powerful, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
He creates humans. We instantly screw him up. And then he's just going to let some of us burn in hell. That makes no fucking sense.
No, none.
That, like, I'll judge that. You're wrong. That makes zero sense.
Right. Like, honestly, the adversary is going to be all alone at the end of things.
Yeah.
And like, here's something interesting that I do too. I refuse to give that a name because I feel like it gives him too much power.
Yeah.
So if you just write him as the adversary, then he's just like a very small, it like makes him like 2 inches high, more of like an annoyance.
Well, and we need that in all things.
Mm-hmm.
It's the offset, right? It's the yin and the yang. You need that character. If you're playing a sport, you don't want to play it by yourself. You need an antagonist. You need that thing that's going to push you to become better.
Right.
And so, to me, I don't even think he's going to be alone in the end. I think he gets rolled back up in and loved on.
I like that.
And
I really do.
We just finished Superman and Lois on HBO Max.
I haven't seen it.
Phenomenal. I mean, it's definitely like a CW sort of like production.
Okay.
And they portray Luther. I mean, he's just angry and he's only about himself, right? He even like wants his daughter back, gets the opportunity, and the daughter says, you need to figure, if you want me, then you have to stop choosing yourself.
Right.
And he chooses himself.
Super narcissistic.
Like ultra narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, Superman ends up winning. And there's a whole storyline, but Superman ends up dying last episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it portrays him going to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in his farmhouse in Smallville.
Yeah.
And he sees Lois again, and he sees Luther. And this is his main antagonist throughout all things.
Mm-hmm.
And they just look at each other and they cry. And it's like this moment of, it's the contracts example, right? Soul contracts of, some people have contracted with you to be your antagonist.
Yeah.
But when you get to the other side, you're going to look at them with so much love and appreciation for playing that role. Why wouldn't we do that with everything? Everything helps us. Everything testifies there's a God.
Mm-hmm.
God is love. It all is going to roll back up.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for that. That was really great. Something interesting. Lucifer.
Ah, that's a good time.
I just put that together.
Yeah,
I was just like, oh, wow, that's weird.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
So, yeah, I really, really love that. Yeah, you're 100% right. Like, there's absolutely no reason why. It doesn't make sense that the adversary wouldn't be wrapped up at the end of all things.
Yeah, he's playing a role.
Mm-hmm. Sure. He absolutely is.
Yeah.
What's your last question?
Well, it was a megaphone question.
Oh, the megaphone?
Yeah. So stop being a dick.
Stop being a dick.
Any other message to the people before we hit stop?
No, just the one about Christ. He's done his job.
He's done his job. Chelsea, thank you for coming on.
Yay.
This was a blast.
This was a blast.
And now we get to go party.
Woo!
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Main Character Podcast. If you dig the content, please click that follow button. And if you found today's guest inspiring, please share this episode with someone you think will benefit from it. If you'd like to be a guest on Main Character Podcast, reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, where I'd also appreciate a follow. All links can be found at my website, coachwithbrandon.com.